That was so
Nice.
sick.
Well done.
Thank you, sir.
Well done. Everyone, welcome back to episode 2.
That was sick.
Loading with Will and Finn. We have our first guest in studio today. Super stoked to invite him here and talk shop about the music industry. His name is Kaito Irizarry, manager for Undecided Future, and we're very excited to have him here, bro.
Thank you, Will. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you, Finn, as well.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
Yeah.
I didn't do much, but that was really cool. Thanks for doing that.
I appreciate it.
Just a fun fact: he just ripped that violin solo. Charlie Daniels, Del One down in Georgia, by the way, on a 300-year-old violin.
Yeah.
So
Talk about that violin for a
that's pretty
sec.
cool.
Yeah, I mean, I got it in high school, actually, and this thing actually wasn't the first one I got. I actually got one that was much newer, probably in like the 2009-ish when it was made, and it actually got warped.
Oh,
So the wood got
how does a
fucked
violin
up.
get warped?
just water and stuff.
Just bad wood, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like, whether
okay.
there was like water in the wood.
See, so
or...
this 300-year-old guitar just came
This
back
thing-
a big
this thing
finger. It was
survived,
like
yeah.
you couldn't last 5 years.
No. Like this thing
Wow.
had to just been in the right conditions for
Wow.
hundreds of years and be in almost perfect condition. I mean, there are a couple things here that were actually
So, if you can disclose,
Beautiful.
how much
Repaired.
does a 300-year-old violin cost, ballpark?
I mean, it could be anywhere from a few grand to a couple million. It just depends on the maker. It depends on where it
Wow.
was built. The
So that's an
Oh my
investment.
god.
it's an investment for sure. I
Just
was very
keep
lucky.
hanging on to this
I was
one.
very lucky to get this one for a relatively good price. And
Where'd
I
you
mean,
find it?
I just sent it back. I had a violin shop that fucked up the first order. Came back, they're like, all right, here's another one. Try and see if it works better. I'm like, this thing
Wow.
has incredible versatility and incredible responsiveness in terms of like the tone and the actual sound itself. So I got very lucky with this thing. I
Yeah.
definitely will not sell it for
Dude,
sure.
hearing you talk about
Yeah.
this instrument as like versatile and like like responsiveness, it's so cool. Like
Yeah,
it's like
it's
such
been
a
for a lot.
foreign idea to me for
Yeah,
like
dude.
an instrument. Like I always imagine like it's a violin, it does the same thing,
Yeah.
but of course it has its own unique qualities. Beautiful, dude. So cool.
Fantastic, bro. Thank you for
No,
showcasing
of course,
your
man.
amazing talents.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to dive right into
Absolutely.
it. So we know that you are from
Mhm.
Bozeman, Montana, of all places. And I'm sure I've
Go
only been
Bobcats.
to Go Bobcats. I've only been to Montana one time, and I went to like Flathead Lake somewhere. Are you familiar with that?
Oh yeah,
area?
Flathead Lake. It's like one of the largest
Dude, if
lakes
we
in
know
Montana.
what something is in Montana, I promise you.
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
definitely
yeah.
Montana.
Who am I kidding? All right. So we would like to know, for those who are unfamiliar with Montana, we would like to know a stereotype that is true about Montana and one that is definitely not true.
All right. Montana stereotype part 1. We have more cows than people. Guess. And I guess like with this, I guess let's do a little guess here. Like, you think that's true or false?
I think that's true. I definitely think that's
What
true.
about you?
Is it true?
It is true.
No, it's totally definitely true. I drove through Montana.
no
I cheated. I
way.
drove through Montana like 3 weeks, a month ago. There's a lot of cows.
There's a lot of
open
cows.
land.
A lot of open land.
I can't
But,
believe that.
Yeah, but like we also get the stereotype of like there's nothing there, which to a point, yeah, there's nothing there.
Mhm.
But like in terms of going outdoors or
Oh
just
my
even the
God.
cities, man. Like I mean, Bozeman, where I grew up, is like
What's the
Los
population?
Angeles of Montana. So
Really?
like, there's some decent stuff to do there. Some great things to do out there for sure. And like skiing in the winter, man, like that
Yeah, you got
That's the
Big Sky
best.
up there, right?
Big Sky, Bridger.
Okay.
There's a couple other ones.
How
around,
often do
but
you make it back to Montana?
I try to make a couple times a year just to see family, and I really use it as a place to just decompress
Dude.
and like,
Oh my
ground
God.
myself again.
You and
Oh.
Kanye West, right? Or no, he goes
Kanye's
to
in Wyoming,
Wyoming.
Jackson Hole.
Gotcha.
But,
Gotcha.
Same, but different.
same,
Yeah.
different.
I didn't mean to, profile
Appropriate your
Montana.
state.
All right, so as we know,
One word on Montana though. It is the coolest state though. I went to Missoula.
Hey,
Missoula was really
Missoula is
cool.
rad.
It
Missoula
was
is
like
rad,
super
man.
young and hipster, but also like
Mm.
frontier mountain town.
hipster Montana.
I know.
Oh, yeah.
It was dope. It was cool. People were also surfing in the river
Love that.
in like
Love
some
that.
thick,
Like
thick
upstream, right?
wetsuits, like
Oh, yeah.
glacial river.
Oh wow, that must
Yeah.
be so cold.
Oh, like freezing cold. Like
All right, so I have to ask this: if there are more
Mm.
cows than people in Montana, have you been cow tipping?
I cannot confirm or deny that.
Is it illegal?
do people do that? Is that a thing? Is that a stereotype that's true? That like
I don't know, man. I've never I've never cow tipped, so
Did you have friends that did ever cow
I
tip?
feel like we're about to talk about your football career.
if they did cow tip, they never told me.
Dude, so what's the end goal with cow tipping though? Are you just like?
Well, I mean, I guess the theory behind that is I've been told that cows are kind of, when they sleep, they're standing up at night or something, they can't really see well. So if you even just push them a little bit, they'll just fall right over.
Mm-hmm.
Which apparently is a thing.
They stand like cross-legged though, right? Isn't that the whole point?
Wait, they stand cross-legged?
They stand cross-legged? I didn't even know.
So they were just
I might have made that up. I don't know. I saw Tommy Boy and my life was changed.
You might be right though. I honestly wouldn't know.
Alright, so as we got a little taste of before, Kaito is a kick-ass violinist. He's been playing since he was 3 years old. And he also was a standout DB in football for, what was your high school?
I wasn't, I wasn't very good, but I had a lot of fun getting
Ladies and gents, he does both. He does both. So tell us a little bit. Obviously we've seen your violinist skills, very incredible. So tell us about a standout moment in your violin career, and then also your standout moment in your maybe mediocre football career. But we'll hype it up, right?
We're gonna hype him up
We'll
because
hype
this
it
is
up.
episode.
Well, all right. So I mean, let's start with football because I love that sport. One of my favorite moments was actually our senior year. We went all the way to state. We won state, and we had a 12-1 record.
12-1?
We were so close to undefeated.
I was gonna say,
that's
so
almost
close. Never lost.
So you gotta win a state championship.
Yeah, I got a ring.
You got a ring? Dude, nice.
Yeah. I keep it under lock and key and never wear it. But you know what? I'm kind of like Tom Brady.
Honestly,
I never wear my ring.
Did you play in the state championship game?
I did not.
Okay, hey, you got a ring though.
I got a ring out of it though. I wasn't playing. I wasn't on the lineup that
Respect
day.
for not wearing
That
the
is
ring.
sick, yeah.
Because honestly, if a guy's wearing his high school state championship ring on the reg, he's got problems, right?
You gotta assume he's done nothing more.
He's living in the past.
So tell us, what's football culture like in Montana? Like high school football? Because you get Texas, which for some reason I put in a similar category, state culture wise.
Yeah.
And it's such a freaking big deal. It's like religion. Is it big among high school sports like football?
I wouldn't say it's as far as religion Texas, but for sure in Montana, at least through the culture, at least with my team at Bozeman High, we were all about family. We were all about team, just putting in an all-team effort. It didn't matter if you're the third string or you were the starter.
That's
awesome.
You
did your part, you did your job, you got the job done, and we were all towards the same cause, which probably is attributed to our success. And we had great coaches, and we had a great supporting fan base, and those were my favorite moments from high school. Is just playing ball on Friday night. You know?
That's Friday Night Lights.
Friday
Night Lights
in Montana. Okay, so it must be hella cold during football season. In Montana,
dude,
right?
we were dealing with icy and snowy conditions during our state championship game. But we were ready.
Still put on.
We were ready.
We still put on. That's awesome.
We went against the second best team in the state, and when we met them earlier in the season, we won by 1 point.
Ooh.
So we were determined.
We
were determined to hit them hard,
Yeah.
And they actually scored first, but we immediately responded back, and by the second half, we just took off, and they kind of, I don't know, they lost momentum or something.
Couldn't catch up.
That's one of my favorite. It was a great game, and we all had a lot of fun.
Do you think you've taken away any lessons from your football coaches, teammates, and stuff like that into you?
Oh yeah, totally,
man. You moving out here and stuff like that?
Totally. Everything I do in my career now is attributed to the fact that I had that, environment with my teammates and that brotherhood where it's there is no fucking ego here. We're all about the
common
same
goal.
thing. We're gonna get the shit done.
Being a selfless leader.
It doesn't matter what we have to do. We're gonna get it done.
That's awesome.
Each of us have a part, whether we play or not. We have a part in this whole machine here, and we're gonna make it happen.
That's awesome, bro.
Okay, I want you to touch more. I'm gonna touch more on that later because I think that's really cool. And then your violinist career. What was your standout?
What is the most memorable moment of your playing violin?
I mean, that's hard to me because just playing it itself is, it gave me that kind of window into the artist mindset and to just be able to take something and channel that energy, and it really was a lot of meditation for me during my times playing. But definitely the highlight for me was when I first picked up the violin. We were talking about earlier where I finally just got it and I'm just playing it, and I've never heard about a violin in my life, and it melded. Like, I knew we had an instant connection with that instrument. I mean, it sounds crazy.
No, that's so cool.
Like, you know, you're like,
no,
most people talk about, okay,
I just wish I had like felt like that towards an instrument.
Yeah, like a lot of people are like, okay, I got a connection with this girl, or I got a connection with this guy, or like, I got a connection with someone. You know what I mean? But like to me, this instrument, when I played it the first time, I was like, okay, we're gonna get along very well. You know,
Nice.
How old were you?
Man, I was like maybe. I don't know, like 15 or something when they sent that thing up to me. Like,
awesome.
I mean, it's been a while. Yeah.
Right on, man. Okay, so you're coming up as a violinist, and you are being recruited by some art schools, right? Because you're kind of standout.
Yeah, it was actually like the story about that. How I got noticed by CalArts was just really interesting. For those who don't know, CalArts is a school up in the Valley in Santa Clarita, and they, I guess, found a video of me playing on YouTube, and the violin professor out there was interested.
No freaking way.
No way.
Got in touch through a mutual friend of his who was a mutual friend of ours, and was like, I don't know who this kid is, but I have been pushing very heavy on the faculty to we need to let this guy in. And
dude,
nice.
Had you applied to it already? Or
no. Like, I was planning to go to business. Because I always wanted to be in the music industry, but I wanted the business degree, you know? Yeah. So I was thinking of going to I was looking at Hawaii Pacific or U of H Manoa, over in Honolulu. I was so ready. I was about ready to actually go to do the.
You wanted to go tropical with it, right?
I was gonna go tropical for sure. But,
absolutely.
Doesn't get more tropical than Santa Clarita, and people that aren't from LA won't understand that joke.
It's the dry, dusty ass desert.
When you hear about fires in LA, that's where they're talking.
That's where
about.
they're born, dude. That's
if you also hear about weird shit going down, it's probably always Santa Clarita too.
Yeah. It's like Florida man in California is Santa Clarita.
It's just an interesting place, you know what I mean?
Totally.
It's a trip.
Dude, that must have been the most flattering thing ever, though.
I know.
To all of a sudden, just this YouTube video you made, get back to you, turns out you're sick. Did you know you were sick before that, or no?
No, I mean, the funny thing is the video they saw that they're interested in, I hated that video.
Really?
No way.
I hated that thing.
That's
I was
so
just
interesting.
It was something about I don't know. It was just the way they felt, the hair and everything.
Yeah.
It was just I'm
it wasn't it.
What was your hairstyle?
And I was judging. I mean, I was long. I had a full on mullet going on.
Nice. Mullet gang.
Yeah, mullet gang.
Montana.
Not as long as little longer than yours.
Oh, damn, bro. I just got fucking boost.
And I hated that video. Never told it. This is the first time I've ever said anything about that video.
It's so funny.
Not a lot of people get recognized for a video, and then actually maybe they do.
And they hate it?
Because I know, for instance, Juice WRLD ended up hating playing Lucid Dreams live, right? Because that's the only song they wanted to hear.
But that's different. I'm sure he loved it when he produced it. But then he was like, they only want one song from me. I hate this.
Exactly.
A lot of bands go through that.
The thing that it gives you initial recognition, maybe you begin to resent at the end. But that's probably not the same. You just didn't like the production of it.
Yeah, I was just
he just didn't think he looked cute.
I just didn't shut up.
He wasn't looking at that.
But no, I just didn't like how I played.
Oh, you
really?
thought you're I could have done better than that.
I was like, fuck. I'm always about trying to improve. You know what I mean? So
damn.
I'll analyze everything. I'm like, well, I fucked up there. I fucked up there. I fucked up there.
No way.
And I did that for the longest time, and I had to kind of learn to take it easy every now and then on myself, because I was getting to the point where I was super critical and just to an extreme on my technique and my even now.
Yeah.
With what I do with artist management, I'm I always kick myself in the foot for not thinking of something we should have looked at, a couple weeks back where and I had to recognize to myself how the hell are you gonna know?
Yeah, you don't have a crystal
about
ball.
that. I'm not an oculist, I'm not gonna be able to take the divination ball and be okay, well, here's what's gonna happen in the future. So let's go deal with this. I mean, there's ways you can limit. And there's ways you can avoid certain things down the line where they're going to be a problem, but you can't solve all of them for sure.
Sure.
See,
that's interesting what you just touched upon, and I don't know if this is a stereotype or if I'm just imagining this, but I feel that's a common trait I imagine with your classical musicians, which is that they're super driven and super focused about perfection. Maybe I just watched Whiplash too many times.
But great movie.
Yeah.
Movie.
Oh, we gotta do a
It was
What's
a
Up
great
Doc.
patrol.
We'll do that later.
We'll do it on What's Up Doc
Yeah.
later. We gotta
What's
do
up,
that.
docs are coming later. All right.
But like, is that like did you see that with a lot of your fellow like
Mhm.
musicians you're in class with? Like, were they as perfection driven as you were, or is that more of a kind of specialty?
No, honestly, the interesting thing about that is after about year 10, maybe, of playing classical, I was starting to get burnt out.
And by
Really?
you, that's turning 13. Right? You
Yeah,
started
definitely.
So you started at 3.
Yeah. So 13.
How?
Oh, you just take a little, like, tiny violin that's, like, this big. And
The
you just
world's
start-
smallest violin.
I mean, that's how you start, though. You have to get used to this, like, weird
Yeah.
position, because you kind of look like a contortionist,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
like, trying to play this
That's
thing.
crazy.
But, no, I was getting burnt out by, like, 13, classical music, and I just wanted to get into, like, jazz, and I wanted to get into rock,
Oh,
and I
dope.
love the electric violin, so, like, as soon as I heard one of those, actually, a guy by the name of Tracy Silverman one day came into our class because I guess he was good friends with the orchestra instructor, and he's one of the forefronts of electric violin.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
He can make his, like, he was one of the first violinists who created this technique of, you know, vibrato that sounded like an electric guitar screaming.
Oh,
No
wow.
way. Like,
you
you
know
can,
who
you
he
can
was before he
shred
came
an
in?
electric violin.
Oh, he could shred it, dude. Like he's a pro. Like
Tracy
he's a virtuoso.
Silverman is his name?
Tracy Silverman.
Yeah, we'll look him up.
Like
So did you know who he was before he came in, or did
No.
Okay.
None of
He
us.
popped
did.
Okay,
in.
so
But,
it's,
like, but
it's
that
cool
kinda,
that we
like-
don't know who he is either.
No. Like, it's
Who is this guy?
It's a if you know, you know.
Yeah,
type of
okay.
Okay.
But
So now we know.
you know, and that got me really into like this world of like, okay, I can take this perfection of like, because I was getting tired of like the classical thing, because
Mhm.
everyone wanted me to play it the way like all these masters from
Mhm.
like 50 years ago
Sure.
played. And I'm like, I want to do my own version. Like, you know, like I want my own expression.
A little
of this thing,
creativity, yeah.
You know,
So true.
So I took that, I went into my electric violin, and I started this, you know, like developing my own technique for electric violin and
Mhm.
violin playing. And, you know, a lot of people don't get to hear it because I don't play very often anymore,
Mhm.
but, you know,
It's
I
kind of
still,
sweet. I get the vibe. It's kind of
I
sweet.
still,
You're
I
like,
still
giving
keep
me
on
like
with
a-
it, you know, like, you know, well, it's up to the, you know, the listener. Like, they're either
Yeah.
gonna like it or they're not gonna like it.
Mhm.
But, like, to me, that's always something I can pull out of my bag if, like, you know, an opportunity creates itself. Like, yeah, I mean, why not play the electric violin, jam
Yeah.
out with your friends,
That's
you know, and have a
cool.
good time.
So you've kind of progressed through your musical career to be less like, you know, this is the way it's done, to like more of a artistic expression, like finding your own, you know, way to, I guess,
Yeah,
speak through
like,
the music.
kind of like that, but also like, what rules can I bend?
Yeah.
What can
Nice.
I break? What can
Cool.
I get around? Like, what are the things? Like, can I push this thing to the limit?
Because it
That's
seems
cool.
like a very rigid practice.
Yeah,
when
exactly.
all the most famous ones were written hundreds of years ago. Now,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, and like everyone expects like it to sound like when it was first recorded. So everyone tries to emulate that.
There you
And that's
go.
the thing about the classical music industry that put it, you know, a little bit of a distaste in my mouth. It's like you have to respect the art, but you
Mhm.
also have to respect the fact that every, you know, artist in their own right has a different interpretation of the music.
Yeah.
And it's almost a disservice to that artist to tell them they have to play it a certain way.
Mhm.
Totally.
You know,
I-
it undercuts their talent.
Totally. I also imagine it would be a disservice to the genre of music as well, because it'd be so hard to have forward progress in the classical musical like genre
Mhm.
if everyone's just emulating the same thing. You know what I mean? As the audience's
People
tastes
need to bend the
change,
rules.
it's nice to have a younger musician that is going to have different inspirations. He's
Mhm.
going to want to bend those rules and make slightly different music with maybe the same inspirations. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
And
respecting the same
yeah,
overall
and
rules.
to the credit of the classical music industry, they're starting to like get to that point where they're more, you know, open to things. So
That's good.
yeah, like I'm excited to see where it goes.
That's awesome.
You know, there's
Cool.
a few artists out there that are a little like
All right.
genre bending for sure.
Moving
That's,
forward chronologically in the life of Kaito, you end up going to CalArts
Mhm.
in Santa Clarita, California, and then you end up getting randomly paired up?
Yeah, randomly paired up.
Randomly paired up with one of my best friends in the entire world, right? Whose name is Cole Frederick, right? And he's
Shout out to Cole Frederick.
Shout out to Cole, who's a member of this band, Undecided Future. Product placement with the sweatshirt over there. That's an OG hoodie, like one of the first hoodies they ever made. Talk about your experience meeting Cole and kind of how you guys navigated CalArts together for for only that 1 year you guys were there.
Yeah, interesting. So how I met Cole, I was like, I had gotten like accepted into CalArts pretty late. So I was a little bit behind on like housing and figuring all like the logistics out. And a couple days before I actually left Montana to go to CalArts, they placed me in this dorm with this guy named Cole Frederick. Soon to become also one of my best friends as well.
That's awesome.
You know, family to me now. And he just like hit me up on Facebook Messenger because that was the thing back in the day. And he was like, and his first like line was, "So I guess we're roommates." And I had
Kismet.
and I had no idea what I was in for, man. Because
how do you respond to that? You're like, yeah,
I guess you're right. Like,
yeah, I was like, yeah. Like, I was just like, you know, I was like trying to get to know this guy, and he had just mentioned that he was in a band, and he dropped me a link to Superfine.
No way.
Cool.
And I took a listen to that, and you know, I had a holy fuck moment. I was like, holy fuck, these guys are good. Like, these guys have a sound, they have a look, they got it. They're going to go somewhere in life. Like, I don't know when it will happen, but they're definitely going to be one of the bigger acts in the music industry for sure. Yeah. Just by hearing their sound. Like, I already knew. And I mean, like, that was the thing they recorded in high school, right? Like, so
I did not know Superfine's been around. So I guess a little background just so they know.
Right, we have to fill the people in. So
Superfine is this guy, Cole, has a band called Undecided Future. Obviously, you just talked about that. And Superfine is probably one of their bigger songs.
It's maybe their second or third highest stream song on Spotify by now, right?
And it's badass.
It's one of the OGs, I'll give it that.
It's definitely an OG.
I got to listen to it in the studio, and I also had the same reaction. I'm like, that's badass. That was so cool. You know what I mean? It had this own unique sound. I was like, that's sick.
Exactly.
Dope. I had no idea it had been around since high school.
Yeah, so cool. Like, anyway, fast forward, like, I meet him up at the dorm, like, you know, both our parents are there, so, like, we're just, like, kind of coordinating, like, all right, who's going to get one, get the dorm situated. Yeah. And after my parents leave, you know, classic Cole, the first question he asked me, was like, so are you chill with smoking?
Yeah.
When we're talking about smoking, we know what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
And I was like, why are you asking me that? I'm totally down.
That was the moment, school, dude.
I was like, what no? Like, this is the moment that I think we really connected, and we're like, all right, this is gonna be a dope year. And like, we, you know, throughout that year, like, you know, both of us had ups and downs in our personal lives, and like with the school and all these other like things. But you know, throughout that, like, you know, our brotherhood and friendship have been intact, and like to this day, dude, like I still like try to hit up that guy once a day, or like he'll hit me up every day, and like we just, you know, catch up.
You're boys, yeah.
We're boys, you know.
For sure, bro.
Probably a little more than that, dude. Sounds like you guys are super close.
Yeah, I mean, we're like, you know, everyone in that band, as well as Cole, is family to me.
Yeah.
Like we're basically family. Like we treat each other like family. We, you know, take care of each other, and we'll always back each other up. You know, so it's just a great, you know, rapport we have with each other.
Awesome.
Fantastic, bro.
Now, could you walk us through your decision to leave CalArts a little bit?
Yeah, so about halfway through the year, I was kind of hitting a roadblock where I felt like I wasn't really going to that school to be able to do the things I wanted to do with, like, particularly violin playing. But I was also having kind of a crisis where I was wondering, you know, there's this whole other side to the music industry, which is, you know, the music business. And, you know, and I was, you know, kind of had that in the back of my mind. But, you know, the bigger thing that I was frustrated about was, like, you know, a lot of these things that I'm learning at CalArts are things I either A, know, or B, don't think it would have applied to what I was trying to do for electric violin. And I think I came to a realization of like, oh, okay, I'm trying to develop my own technique. There isn't really anyone who's going to be able to teach me. Sure. I'm going to have to teach myself. And by the end of the year, I mean, there was just a lot of things that went down, but I think both Cole and I mutually came to the conclusion that CalArts just, you know, wasn't for us. Yeah. Like, it wasn't anything against the school. It wasn't anything against the program. We just, you know, it wasn't for us.
It's time to move on, right?
It was time to move on to bigger and better things.
Bigger and better things. And we are about to step into some of those bigger and better things. As we know, for Cole, he went to go pursue his band full-time, writing music. and living, closer down to Orange County where everybody else is living. And then you also decided to take a nosedive into the music industry as well. And I was hoping you could kind of walk us through your process of like trying to find a job in the music industry as, a college dropout, as most people are, and kind of talk about some of the struggles and maybe just, different, major points that you hit in your career path that brought you to being Undecided Future's manager.
Yeah. You guys ready for a long ass story? Because you're in for a ride.
Let's do it.
We got time.
All right. Well, so after I left CalArts, I went back up to Montana for a little bit. I had some personal things I had to work through. That I was at a point where I was completely rock bottom in terms of like where I was at in life. I was going through shit, and I had to like get myself out of that rut. I had to like pick myself up, put myself together, rebuild myself. Because I had felt like, I had lost like my sense of self, and, I had a mentor who kind of helped me kind of develop some skills, not only to just overcome whatever fears, doubts, insecurities I had, but also to like kind of give me the tools to go survive in the real world, because like I had just dropped out of college and I was never intending to go back because I had, committed to, being in the music business and just finding a way to get in there. So that happened for about a year. And, around that time, I got introduced to a guy by the name of Philip Shepard, who is a film composer in the UK. And he is actually the guy who rearranged and had all the Olympic or national anthems for all the countries in the Olympics re-recorded. So every time you listen to watch the Olympics,
he recorded the audio for the Olympics.
He arranged the music.
Oh my god!
He had it recorded
what a
and
badass.
Like super badass.
How did you meet this guy?
I actually met him through a thing called Hatch, which is a network in Montana, actually created by a guy named Yarrow Craner, who was a film guy in LA, and he wanted to create something that was kind of similar to the networking scene he found in LA, but just not in LA. He moved up, he moved up to Montana. He just created this wonderful organization.
Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
I would never imagine something like that would be in Montana.
That's so cool.
That's so cool.
But I was like just volunteering for this thing, and and one of the things that have really helped me get to where I am is no job is too big or too small for me.
Yeah.
So like if it's a coffee run, I'm gonna go do it. If there's a problem, I'll find a way to fix it. Like you just want to always be like up to do anything and just always try to do what you can to help people.
Yeah, that's that high school football.
It's that high school football.
Get your hands dirty, bro.
Get your hands dirty. We're all in this together mentality, and that led me to an internship with him, which ended up leading to a job offer as his coordinator for his promotion and operations. Did that for a year, and one of the highlights in that time in my career was Philip Shepard actually did the strings for Odessa's a Moment Part album.
What?
Oh my god,
No
bro, that
freaking
album's
way.
insane.
It's an insane album.
Are you serious?
Have you
I'm
seen?
not fucking with you. Like,
Dude.
he did.
I
He
saw
did the
that
strings
total
for-
live. That is so.
Have you
cool.
seen them live?
I have not seen him live
Oh,
yet.
Yeah,
Unfortunately,
that's my reaction.
One of the
I
best-
cannot believe that.
one of the
I'm
best
so
live
happy.
acts I've ever seen in my life, bro. Their drum
That's
line
incredible.
is insane, bro.
But anytime you see, you hear the strings for a moment apart,
Really?
Oh,
that guy did them.
dude.
That's gonna change that song for me. I'm gonna now listen to that and be like, I kind of know something more about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It was, and of course that, as you know, that album got nominated for a Grammy.
Oh my god.
So close to winning, but
Who ended up winning the Grammy?
I forgot.
Alright. Welcome.
But no, it was a great experience, and by that time as well, I kind of working with him as a film composer and seeing how he's taking what he's seeing on the screen, and he's taking the music and he's creating an emotional and an emotional vessel to be able to have everyone interpret a meaning or a story or something in one way or another in their heads all in context to this movie, right?
Yeah.
Or this film or whatever he's working on. But through working, you know, and observing that, I realized, like, holy shit, like, now imagine working with, like, a pop artist or any artist that's not in, like, film composition. It could just be classical composition, whatever, right? Imagine them taking that and creating an opportunity for people to create their own, like, movie or own thing in their head,
reversing
right?
that and then being like, instead of putting the movie first and then the music,
They're
putting the music first and then what movie would you make?
They're creating their story, or their emotions, or they're feeling those emotions as they're listening to the music, right?
That's so. I love that thought. That's so.
And
cool.
to me, that was the ultimate. That was the ultimate art.
Yeah.
And I think that was when I realized, you know what? I want to work with pop artists. I want to work with artists that, you know, have this art and they can take their message and spread it to millions and billions across the globe and, you know, spread this love and hope and connection with one another. And by that time, I was also doing a little work, intern work on the side for another mentor and good friend of mine, Lynn Grossman, who is Ingrid Michaelson's manager. And around January of 2019, Ingrid was starting to work on an album called Stranger Songs. And
okay, you're going to need to give me a little background.
Yeah.
Who are these people?
All right, so Lynn Grossman, if you don't know Ingrid Michaelson, she is an independent artist. She's been an independent artist her whole life and has had an amazing, incredible career out of it.
Okay.
She's actually one of my favorite artists.
That's pretty tough.
And an artist it's incredibly difficult, but she's just so good in her. She's just such a great person. Anyway, Ingrid released a song called The Way I Am back in the day that got into a Gap commercial for sync licensing, and it blew up. And then her career kind of took off from there. But fast forward to 2019, and well, all right, we're gonna go back. And like around that time, she was working with Lynn Grossman, who is her manager, and she is, in my, you know, very biased opinion, one of the best managers in the music industry of all time, because she and Pat McCochran, who's Chance's manager, in my eyes, they were the pioneers of taking an artist who wants to be independent and creating a incredible successble career without the need of a record label, you know, backing you up.
Yeah.
So
you know, Chance isn't on a label.
Chance the Rapper, I mean, he's on like an independent label.
Wow.
As far as I know, from, you know, Acid Rain, that stuff was independent. Is it Acid Rain? Acid Rap. Okay, like, can't know everything.
That's gospel to me. I love that. I love that.
That was our high school anthem.
I was way too into that.
You can't know everything, right?
Yeah.
Dude, but you're touching on such a cool spot, which is like, as a manager, I feel like to honor that for your artist, to be like, I want you to like follow your own dreams, if that's being independent and really be in control of your own, you know, music creation and being in control of your own career. I feel like that's a huge risk to take as a manager too. You know what I mean? Because you're kind of sharing their successes with them.
Yeah, of course. It's always a risk, but you know, that's the point of being a manager to me, is being able to protect them while creating that space for them to actually explore that art. Because if you're not doing that as a manager, then what the fuck are you doing?
But do you think that's a unique perspective you have?
I mean,
do you think? Because
I don't know, man. I don't know, because I've just I never really asked that question. I've just always operated under that mindset. And
from the outside looking in, I've always been like, managers, I feel like some of them like take advantage of their artists. You know what I mean?
Of course.
And like, those are the stories that make the news. You know what I mean? And I'm like, holy shit! Like,
you know, a lot of managers are like that, but there's a lot of managers who aren't like that.
That's cool.
So I guess it just really depends on like their story as a manager and what drives them. And like, look, like if it's, you know, fucking over a whole bunch of artists to make money, like, you know, that's their thing.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't really have a comment on that. It's just their thing.
Right.
although, anyway.
Sorry, I tangent.
So you're
This is
working-
what I
Huge
do.
tangent.
This is what I do.
So she's
Ingrid,
working on her
Ingrid
album.
and Lynn Grossman.
Right. So Ingrid was working on Stranger Songs,
Okay.
which is like Ingrid loves Stranger Things, right? Like I love that show too. And she wanted to create an album inspired by it, and it was one of her most ambitious projects to date, where she just wanted to like do a full out album, because a lot of times, at least according to Lynn, when she had like talked to me about it, and she just offered me like, look, you want to like stick on this project and help around. And I was
That's
like,
cool.
oh yeah, and like so. I mean, I did that for a year, and I learned so much
Wow,
about.
that's awesome.
It was crazy.
So the
And-
process of making a studio, or I guess not
Hmm.
studio, because was that technically with a label? I don't even know if
Independent.
that's the right term. So an
Independent.
independent album, the
Mhm.
process of creating an album. How much time do you think is it vary on an artist by artist basis in your experience, or how much time do you think that would take, start to finish?
I mean, I think it would be different. It's an artist by artist basis. Like it depends on like so many factors. I can only speak for what I've worked with, who I've worked with, and like the team dynamics around that. But I can say like by far like my baseline is Ingrid Michaelson's team, because they are so good at what they do, and they're so on top of it. And they run like it runs like a perfectly oiled machine. And I'm super grateful to like Lynn and her team for showing me all the ropes. I mean, her day-to-day managers, Carolyn and Hannah, who answered any questions I had, and like took their time to like help me out as I was like figuring things out. And and they taught me almost everything I know about artist management.
So, what were your biggest takeaways from that, hands-on experience?
Definitely, it's just like all it is like if you love what you do, like no matter how much work you have, no matter how many things are like going right or wrong, like you're in a
Just
very
stick
blessed
with it.
position.
Right.
Stick with
Yeah.
it, and you're in a very blessed position. And also, I think one of the other key takeaways I took from that was I love like working with like other teams and like learning and all this, but I was missing something. And it took me a while to realize it's because I'm not managing my own artist. This isn't my artist.
Okay.
This isn't my baby. This isn't my project, or like helping someone, right? So then I I think I came to the realization by the end of 2019 is of just being like, you know what, I need to go find an artist.
Yeah.
I need to take what I learned, and I need to start building my own, clients, my own team, my own like business.
Helping
Just,
them from the ground
helping
up.
them from the ground up. Like to me, like that's a journey, and it's going to be a very fulfilling
Totally.
one if you just stick to it. But I came to the conclusion by that end of the year, just realizing, okay, this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
Like
I'm
It's
very
been-
curious.
yeah.
I'm very curious because I thought you'd be the perfect fit for their manager for a long time, right?
I appreciate
So
that.
at what point did the light bulb go off in your head where you're like, I should be Undecided Future's manager. Like I should go nosedive into their journey and their process, and I want to be a part of this.
Yeah, it's kind of a long story again. I kind of came to that realization around the same year I was working for Ingrid, where I was just seeing where they were developing, where they were going, and I also felt they were having some challenges that weren't being addressed, and no one was addressing them. And of course, and I had mentioned it like multiple times of like, look, if you guys, I would love to help you guys out in any way, and like probably to the point where it got extremely annoying.
Yeah,
But
we've all been the intern.
we've all
that
been
does
there.
that,
We've all
you know what I
been there.
mean?
We've all been there. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I annoyed the crap out of them for a period of time. But I think they always say, luck is where you do the work beforehand, and you create that opportunity.
Yeah.
So, a lot of things happened, but by the time they were coming out and they decided they were about to release new music as a band, I can't remember the exact details, but I kind of, along the lines of asked them, like, oh, how you're going to plan to promote this.
Mhm.
They're like, oh, and yeah, I can't remember word for what was said, but they were just talking about, like, just releasing it. That's it.
Mm-hmm. And
Which
you're
to me was
referring
like,
to,
I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
You're like, guys.
I know a thing or two.
I was like, what the fuck? Well, you can't just, like, you know, it's like, look, in the 1970s, if you did that, you just recorded an album and you threw it in a record store, and on the offhand chance someone picked it up and liked it, like, you know, it's good, because, like, not a lot of people were putting out records those days to the level of what is happening now. With, like, the internet, you're going to just an infinite amount of, like, traffic, right?
SoundCloud is a black hole of music, right?
So
like,
you can't just drop something anymore and not promote it. Like, of course, you had to promote it back in the 1960s, 1970s, and, like, way before that as well, and going forward up until, like, when Spotify and all these streaming platforms came out. But you can't really be lazy on that anymore. Like, not that you always could be lazy, but now more than ever, like, it's, you know, you have to, like, develop a strategy of, like, how am I going to get through all this crap out there? Because there's a lot out there, and it's much, much, much harder for an artist to break in the industry now.
Right.
So what happened was I just threw in a marketing plan.
Okay.
I just typed one up. I threw it in their hands, and I was like, do what you want to do with this. But,
okay. Ballsy move. I love that.
It's like, look, it's like, I
put something on the table.
Take some
before
action.
you
Put something
ask
on the
for a
table.
job. Yeah.
Put something on the table and take action. But, like, really at the time, it just came from, like, a place of, like, I want to help these guys.
And they had a manager already.
Well, now, at this point, I think they had, like, left their manager.
You cucked them. We're just going to say you cucked this manager.
No, I did not.
Not quite.
Not
We can't spin this in that direction.
I can't spin it in that direction. But,
you're too good, Kaito. You're too good.
But, no, I just, like, came to the conclusion, like, look, I want to help these guys, like, out anyway. So, like, I was coming from a place of love. Like, I love these guys and the new music, and I heard the new music before they had, like, started releasing it. And I was like, this is way too good not to like make
promote.
Sure they
it's
stupid ridiculous.
Take advantage of this.
Like their plans were making you cringe a little bit. We're like, you guys are way better than you think you are.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you guys are way too good
to
not
do fuck up how good you
act
guys
like the
are.
garage band. You cannot act like the garage band anymore. That might have been fine when you guys were in high school, but you guys are at a level now where you cannot do the garage band.
Good for you, dude. Good for you. That sounds like it came from a place.
Do you think they needed that little kick in the bum to get going on that marketing campaign, or?
In what way? Like,
we get sidestep that question.
Yeah. Like, in what way? Like, did they need, like, a little, like, encouragement, or
like, do you think they took that advice and ran with it? I guess. What's the latter half of the story? You know what I mean? Like, you present them the marketing plan, and then they obviously read it because they've been implementing it.
They read it, and day-to-day manager. They read it, and they were like, let's talk about it. And then from there we talked about it. I had a meeting with them, and you know, they also were like, you know, part of the thing we need your help with too is making sure we get our stuff done. I was like, no, this is what a day-to-day manager does. Like, you know what? Like, I'm happy to help out. Let's go do this. And I'm super proud of where they've gone to, like, in the past 6 months. Like,
that's awesome.
Where they were, where they started. Like, man, like.
Okay.
They couldn't get one thing. They couldn't get one thing done on the list.
The thing is,
and now they get everything done on that list, probably halfway through the week. And then, like,
are you the one making the list too? Like, hey, let's go for this is our goal. Like,
no, like, I'll have a call with them once a week, and we'll talk about how the week went, and then we'll talk about what do you guys want. I'll ask them, like, what do you guys want to do this week? What do you guys want to focus on? What do you guys want to accomplish? What are the action items we want to take care of this week? And they'll just tell me. I'll write them down. I'll put them in the calendar. I'll tell them when their deadlines are, and, you know, I'll just hold them accountable throughout the week, and it's worked well for us.
Now, this is interesting, because I don't know much about, this is such a unique, like, work process to me. Just because, like, the careers we're going into and what we've been doing so far, it's, like, so different, you know?
True.
So, how does that go week to week? Is it mainly like a let's make new music, or is it more like a let's become something that's more commercial and sellable, or let's run down opportunities for gigs, and, like, tell me, like, where's their minds at? You know what I mean?
Honestly, it was a process for me to figure out that dynamic.
Okay.
So, like, out of the get-go, I was pushing really hard. Like, I was really, really, really pushing them hard because I saw their potential.
In what direction?
of like just keep like on their like ass, you know. And
Mhm.
I was, you know, frustrated because I was just like, why aren't you guys, you know, like why is this moving so slow? Like, and I had to take a step back and realize like this isn't their problem, this is my problem because I'm going at this approach completely wrong. So my approach now is I kind of just take a back seat and I let them decide the flow. And I will just like facilitate that space for them to figure it out. And, you know, I assist them and make sure they do it. But like that's where I'm like hard on them. I make sure they get it done. But like, you know, I think the best management, you know, and artist relationship is where, you know, the artist is calling the shots and I just, you know, make sure it's getting implemented. So it's kind of like a CEO, COO mentality where like the artist is the chief executive officer who's like, I want to do this and this and this. And, you know, as the manager and the chief operating officer, you know, in business terms,
opportunities.
I enable opportunities and I also make sure that everyone else on like the team, you know, knows what's going on.
Same page,
They're on the same page and we're all working towards the same thing.
That's good.
It sounds like you have an incredibly healthy, like, relationship and understanding.
And that it was naturally
like,
born
role,
by you and Cole being roommates at the very beginning, right?
I mean, like, it helped being, like, good friends with Cole, but, you know, it also, I think the biggest thing that helped was, like, by the time we all decided to, like, you know, like, see where this went, we all became really, really close.
Yeah.
You know, like, we were all very, very good friends, and, like, you know, like, I saw these guys at least once a week.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, a couple times, maybe, like,
you
twice,
could be real
2 or
with
3
each
times.
other.
Like, we were real, like, you know, and I can talk to these guys about anything. Like, if something's, like, if I'm having a rough day, like, I'm gonna tell them I'm having a rough day.
Yeah.
You know, and I know they're not gonna, like, you know, like, be like, oh, you're such a pussy or anything.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
You're tight like that.
Or, like, they'll support me, they'll back me up, and, like, you know,
they got you.
I
Looking out
like,
for you like you're looking out for
yeah,
them.
and, like, I'll look out for them, too. Like, it's the same way, you know? Yeah, it's just a great relationship we have, and, you know, that is a big part of why we're doing well.
Earlier you were referring to, like, where they started and then referred to, like, 6 months ago, but I just had to butt in for a hot sec because I can consider myself an OG, possibly fan number 1 of Undecided Future, because my dad and I went to their first ever show, like, freshman year of high school. Our freshman year of high school. I think it was at some aquarium in Long Beach somewhere for like a luau on a Sunday, and the audio was terrible, but I was just up there like, yo, like, you guys are sick. I was out there.
Oh, man, I love
obviously,
that.
I've seen them probably like 20 times plus since.
I want that footage.
Dude, I think we have footage. Honestly.
I want that.
Yo!
Send it to me. Send it to me.
I have a photo of us definitely there that day, which was cool. But I just had to put my piece in that I've been on the Undecided Future hype train for as long as they've been around.
Yeah, I've been told this is pretty OG merch.
Oh yeah. So anyway, they screen printed that by hand, all of them.
Love that, dude.
Like, that's
sweat and blood, right?
That's
I remember
OG
there was
merch.
a summer that Matt's the singer, by the way, Matt Isaac. He was trying to make some money and bought like a screen printer at his house and decided to make his own merch and selling it too. So I was like, dude, genius.
Yeah, and then like you hopped on that train. Like I still remember to this day those days where I was at Matisse with the band. And
Matisse is the drummer.
Matisse is the drummer, and we're at Matisse's in Long Beach, and they're just out in the garage, like screen printing these like UF hoodies, you know, to sell at shows, and like, I mean, man, like
dude,
those were the days.
I knock on wood, never gonna lose that.
Hey, honestly, and we are a huge believer of all good things start in a garage.
Oh yes, very true.
Oh, yeah.
I've got one question though, if I could throw it in
Yeah.
there. And it's going to go back to kind of what you were talking about beforehand. When you're kind of helping them and facilitating, you know, a space for them to really achieve the goals they want, how do you manage your own ambitions for them? How do you go, you know, this is where I see you guys? Because you clearly have such a respect for their music and you know, really believe in where they can go. So how do you manage that for yourself where you're like, I think you can go there, you know, how do I push you that in a direction in a respectful way where I'm still honoring what you want to do as an artist and where you're at in your creative process and also where you're at in your professional process too, you know?
Yeah, like, I mean, and a lot of times, like, I will mention to them, like, why, like, you know, sometimes I'll be like, yeah, like, it would be great if you to do this, and I'll explain, like, the ambition, the thought process, but at the end of the day, like, whatever they decide is law to me.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll always implement that. And look, when there are times where I get hard on them, I always tell them it's out of a place of love.
Yeah.
And because I will tell, like, not everyone will tell you the things that you need to hear but don't want to hear.
Totally.
But, like, if there are times where I'm very harsh, it's those moments where I'm doing it because I know that if someone doesn't tell them that,
it's to their detriment.
It's to their detriment, you know?
Yeah.
But, like, really, like, my process with them, it's, you know, very laid back. Like, we're friends first, you know what I mean? We're family first. So, like, I mean, even, you know, I mean, especially through this quarantine, we've been on so many Zoom calls, and we've, like, you know, and, like, even the ideas they come up with and everything, like, it's just all fun and games, man. We're all just laughing, having a good time, and just, you know.
I actually want to ask you about the quarantine, because the quarantine has very much changed the dynamic of the music industry, like, from me as an outsider looking in, and I was hoping you could give us some insight into that, because I know that they've had a residency deal. Undecided Future plays at Downtown Disney. How often? Like once or twice a month?
Typically once a month.
At least once a month. They've had residency there since like almost high school, I think, and amongst many other venues in Orange County. And as a band who, you know, lives off of their talents and playing shows, like not being able to play live shows seems like it would have a massive effect on their livelihood in general as artists. You know, like the starving artist is something that they always talk about, and a musician who can't play live shows seems like, what else do they have? So how has this time changed the way that a band like Undecided Future thinks about, you know, branding and possibly monetizing their talents in other ways?
Yeah, like that's a great question. And like honestly, in the, you know, in the most interesting yet surprisingly way, like we are focused just on right now building content. We are just focused on content right now. Just creating quality content that, you know, is going to help us promote ourselves after this quarantine and just down the line. Like, we're not worried about the money right now. We're just worried about, like, maximizing the time we have right now to just create great content, which we have so many exciting things coming up, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little
It's going to be
later.
some good stuff.
Awesome.
But,
So when you say content, are you talking new music, or are you talking more like...
I mean,
are you talking YouTube
alternative?
videos?
Oh yeah, like
alternative
music videos, photo shoots, alternative things, kind of some cross, you know,
side projects,
some cross side projects, cross genre and industry bending things. Like, you know, of course, you know, merch has been one of the discussions we had over quarantine, and obviously music videos.
That's cool.
And
Your music videos are awesome. The cool part about by the way, we should probably backtrack to how they all met originally, right? So they all went to what's called the Orange County High School of the Arts, right?
Yeah.
And
OSHA.
It's
OSHA.
OSHA.
Yeah, I remember
It's
that.
called OSHA for short. And people who are from LA will understand that LACHSA is the LA equivalent of OSHA. So when you're a badass musician and you're from Orange County, you audition to go to this very hard to get into school, and then they nurture you, and you basically become a premier, you know, musician in whatever your thing is. And I think it was Matt's idea at the very beginning, when Matt was a sophomore in high school. He wanted to start his own band, and Ben eventually brought on who in his view were the most talented musicians in each of the pieces that he needed, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, from my understanding of their history, like they all went to OSHA, and they just started jamming out, and through that, just them jamming out, they actually got a gig. And
That's
they didn't,
cool.
like, and through that, they're like, oh shit, now we got to get what we're gonna call ourselves. And I think it came down to Undecided Future, which
I've
at
always
the time was like
They didn't even
pretty
just a
freaking
name-
appropriate.
pretty
Like,
appropriate. Like just a name they thought about, but to them now, it just means more about like them living in the moment, you know, because you don't know what's gonna happen. Like, who knew COVID-19 was gonna be such a global thing?
So
Like,
true.
And we live in a society now where, you know, there's an immense amount of pressure for not only Gen Zers or, you know, millennials, but also like everyone at this point to like know what they want and figure things out in life and have it figured out. Like I remember like having so much pressure in high school from just people constantly asking you what you're gonna do after high school, what are you gonna do in life, and like to the point where it almost felt like they expected you to have it all figured out, right?
Yeah,
Right.
Dude,
And-
I'm 16 years old.
Yeah,
Fuck
like
off.
Jesus, it's like
Yeah.
I'm college.
I'm 22 and I still don't know what
Yeah,
I'm
like
doing.
damn, bro. Like,
You know,
we started a YouTube channel.
That sounds like a podcast. We started a YouTube channel,
yeah.
but no,
we
it's
are
like,
working title right now. We have
Yeah.
many alternate names
Yeah.
going on.
Mhm.
But really, the bottom line is their message is just live in the moment and just be in the present and just love and enjoy life, because that's all that matters, man.
Mhm.
And like to me, that's why I, respect, love, and continue to want to work with them. Is
Yeah.
this message they're spreading is just something that people need to hear. It's okay not to know what you want in
Right.
life. It's okay not to know what you want. You
Yeah.
know,
Mhm.
and their music, man, like, for those who've been to a UF show, right? It's a unique experience because a lot of shows you go to, you'll like see a specific like target market, like there'll be a specific age group, right? At a UF show, you got a toddler in the front dancing. You got some high school girls, college girls, like it's just everyone is
Yeah,
there,
big
right?
range.
And
Yeah.
everyone's loving the music and everyone's having a great time. Like,
And then there's like old dudes in like Tommy Bahama's rocking in the back. Too.
exactly. Like they have created a platform that everyone can enjoy something from because of their unique genre bending capabilities and just their music and their vibe. Like it's a great
If you had to describe
Great
them,
energy.
how would you describe it? Their music.
one of a kind.
and
And also genre, like not like I can't even describe this
It's-
like
it's-
to do it justice.
I know what you
It
mean.
is so unique that
Right.
there isn't like I had to think of a completely new way to try to market this.
Yeah.
Right.
That's how crazy it was.
So, in terms of your marketing strategy and building content, the whole point of me bringing up the OSHA thing is part of the benefit of going to OSHA and meeting and nurturing, starting a band from an art school is all of your friends are super creative and super talented, right? So they have the luxury of having best friends that are fantastic photographers, fantastic filmmakers, fantastic composers. So all the content they put out is A1 and super unique.
Yeah, I mean, like, man, and like, if you go on Spotify and you listen to their first album, right, like Superfine, and then you listen to Intoxicated, and then you listen to Hugo they released 2 years ago, and like the new stuff we're coming out with now, you just see this journey that
artist progression.
just this progression that's just incredible, and every single one of those albums in their own right is a great album, and it's high quality music, and they're well ahead of their peers and their age in terms of the quality of music and the experience they give. And
Yeah.
I have to kick myself in the morning every day to be like, is this a dream, or
Yeah.
am I dreaming, or is this real that I'm actually working with these guys?
Yeah.
Because they're just incredible artists, incredible people, and they are just inspiring human beings. you
Yeah.
know?
Dude, that's awesome.
So, speaking of the fact that you're living your dream, we kind of wanted to ask you a question that could kind of put the spotlight back on you again. We were hoping that you would open up to us a little bit and maybe tell us some of the few like oh shit you moments you had where maybe you thought that this dream that you're living now might not come to fruition. Like your journey from dropping out of school to where you are now. Talk about some of the moments that brought you there, where you had to make a big jump and become a bigger person and grow and move forward.
Yeah,
Because that's what we're all about
Yeah.
on the Loading podcast. We're trying to be about growth
Totally.
and stuff like that.
Totally, and I'm trying to remember if it was Will Smith or someone else who said it, but at some point in your life, to get to the next level, you're going to have to jump. And
like
I've
that.
had several of
That's
those
a great quote.
throughout my career and my life, that just personal life, because I like to think that like your personal growth is the most important thing, because that will radiate into everything else you do in life, right? So for me, growing up was a very difficult time, because I being where I was in Montana, I didn't really think like this music thing was going to be able to become a reality.
Yeah,
of course,
that's-
like when you're stuck in the middle of nowhere,
It feels like
like
an impossible dream.
you know,
I'm
it just
sure.
feels impossible, right? And yeah, like a lot of times, and I mean, I just had other things that was going on with life. I had feelings of like alienation and feeling unworthy, and you know, I really struggled, especially in high school and middle school. Like I really struggled. Like I really missed out on a lot of great, you know, relationships and friendships with people because I had all this insecurity and all of this anger, and it really did a disservice to my life. And having that opportunity to get out of like Montana and see the world just gives you a different perspective. And like, of course, I had to do a lot of work. Like I had multiple coaches. I still have multiple coaches keeping me accountable for things, whether it's like my spiritual growth, my, you know, relationships, my health. You know, I have those people that are, you know, on my ass, which I'm super grateful for, and they've helped me, you know, just be a better person. And that was the biggest hurdle, right? And then the next biggest hurdle was after, you know, college, of like, okay, I have to do this for real now. Like there is like, I committed to this, there is no going back. Like
I've made the jump.
You know, and I had to create a mindset to myself where I knew college was not an option. Like there was no way, like, you know what I mean? Because like if you're following up to a backup plan, like Jim Carrey says, right? Like you could fail at doing what you hate. So why, you know, not do something you love, right?
Yeah.
Like I knew this is what I wanted to do. I had to create a situation where I had to completely take away the
There's
past
no
behind it.
insurance policy.
Like, no
like-
insurance policy. You know, your past is the past. Like, and one of the most difficult and most, you know, the things that hurt me most was, you know, there were people in my life that I truly loved and cared about that I had to let go of because they weren't serving me to be a better person. And that really fucked me.
Yeah.
Hard, you know, because, you know, I'm the type of person that, you know, I get into trouble because I care too much about people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I can see that.
Like, you just have that
from what you
compassion
talk
and
about.
kindness.
Like,
Right.
yeah, you
You
got
can
it's
feel
just
it
like-
in your passion.
But like,
Yeah.
you know, and you know, I was I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I was an asshole growing up, right?
Yeah.
Because I was insecure and everything, and like I'm scared and I'm trapped in this like world of constantly, you know, fight or flight. That, you know, there were a lot of people I cared about who probably thought I was just an asshole and hated their ass.
Yeah.
You know,
Sure.
And you know, every time I try to, you know, every time I see him, you know, I try to, you know, fix that. But
I don't get that vibe from you. You come
Yeah.
across as a
no,
sweetheart.
I know.
honestly,
Believe
dude.
me,
Like,
believe me, believe
Yeah.
me.
They just met, by the way.
Yeah, I like met this guy
Believe me.
30 minutes ago.
I'm all about just brutal honesty.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm a nice guy, but like back then I was not.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
insecurities
I have
bring
a
out
good
the
heart.
worst
I have a
in
good
you,
heart,
you
but
know?
like insecurities just turn you into like Dr. Jekyll.
Yeah.
Or is it Hyde or Jekyll? I can't remember.
I don't read. No,
I can't read.
I can't read.
Yeah, but I mean that those are like more of the personal hurdles I had to go through. As far as a career hurdle, right? I talked earlier about Hatch.
Right.
And as like a 20-year-old, I'm running an entire fucking music program with like multiple, you know, artists that in their right are, you know, legends.
Badass.
Legends.
Have like,
they are
if
legends.
they retired, they'd
Right.
have like a massive legacy to leave
Right.
behind.
And
you
I've
know?
got this like, and I'm like this 20-year-old kid who literally has no one else backing me up, and I have it like, I'm running the whole thing, right? And so on the last day of Hatch, they have this like great big concert, right? And I had like planned out.
So is
meticulous-
Hatch like a? I know it's a network and
Mhm.
program, but is it also like a event? Like
Yeah, it's like a TED conference mixed with
Oh,
a spiritual
okay.
retreat.
Word,
It's like I
gotcha.
love stuff like that, and like hopefully I'll find some time again to go back up to Hatch and do the same thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
so last
Anyway,
day of Hatch.
Is
Hatch
Hatch,
day
is
Hatch.
Hatch an acronym for something?
no,
Okay.
it's Hatch.
Never mind.
like an egg, dipshit.
Yeah, like Hatch a better world.
I
That's
get
the-
it, I get it.
Their motto's Hatch a better world, so like it makes sense.
Okay.
But anyway, you know, this was just a really rough year, right? Because this is the year where Trump is president year one, and Kavanaugh just gets, you know, elected as
Supreme Court
Supreme
judge.
Court, and like of course the demographics of the group that are here are very liberal, so they're obviously in
Yeah.
emotional
Everybody's
distraught.
on full tilt in LA.
Right. it's just everyone.
Insert meme of lady like.
Oh my god, that meme.
That shit's so good.
When she's on her knees. Oh,
No,
I feel for her, bro.
Yeah.
I feel for her.
But anyway, the curator Yara wanted a positive concert, which A, in life, not everything can be positive. But B, it was like, you know, this is kind of like an oh shit moment. That whole week was an oh shit moment, right? Because I was running, like, this was like the real, like, life shit test for me. Like, you're gonna get shit tests in life, whether it's girls, your career, like whatever. You're gonna always have shit tests, right?
Where it's like you gotta overcome this and you need to be better,
exactly.
or it's gonna fuck you up.
It's gonna fuck you up. That week was a shit test because I was running on like coffee, Red Bull, 3 hours of sleep a night, hardly eating, and doing everything in my power to make sure these artists were taken care of, which is the thing that saved my ass in the end.
Really?
Is building good rapport with artists, because when I needed them to, like, within an hour completely change the entire set list that, like, we had discussed for that entire week, within an hour before this final set, get all the moving parts on board, move this whole thing together.
Wow, that sounds so chaotic.
And,
holy crap. I'm getting like anxiety.
People
listening to this shit. I'm like,
goosebumps,
people came up to me and they're like, you are running like crazy, like, is there anything I could help you with, right? And I was on so much adrenaline at the time, I was like, yeah, like, I should have asked for help. I was just like, fuck it, I gotta get this thing done.
Yeah.
Like, once again, back to my football
it would
mindset
take
of
more,
like,
yeah.
it doesn't matter what happens, I'm gonna get this job done.
Yeah.
You know, thankfully everything went well and it was a great show, but that was the shit test that made me realize, like, I can do this, because that's what a tour is like. And as a manager, you're gonna get a situation like that where something goes sideways and you have to completely start over from scratch.
What did it feel like when it went right?
I was just, at that point, I was just like, I need a drink.
Wait, you were 20.
Or
Hey!
21.
Everybody was 20.
Did you ever have the thought, like, this went right, and everyone in the audience is just like, because as a member of the audience, you're always like, oh, that was a great show. But this manager in the back has probably gotten he's just been pushed around from every other angle. He's just had the most stressful night of his life. You know what I mean? Like,
well, and like,
you don't think about the flip side of it.
Well, and, like,
know?
that's what I was going to say is, like, look, like, the thing that saved my ass is I had done the due diligence and I thought of like 90% of what could go wrong. That situation was just a 10% situation where, because I had like developed, like, I did all of these things I thought about, like, I developed a rapport with artists, so I had a good relationship with them where I accommodated them so much to the point, because I want them to create their best art, that if I need like a little tiny favor, they're probably going to be able to accommodate it for me, right? And I had, you know, all of these things, right, that you do, it's just karma. It comes back to you, right? So, like, my sanity and my success that night relied on the kindness of others. And
that's dope,
that's why I always, like, try to, you know, do what I can to help people, because, you know, there's going to be one day in your life where you need someone to save your ass.
Totally.
And that day, like, you know, I had to save my own ass, but I needed help too. You know, and like, to me, that was one of my career highlights as a manager, because I realized, I can fucking do this.
That's awesome.
Like, I can fucking do this.
Yeah, a light bulb good oh shit moment. Yeah. Or like, I can do this.
It's like oh shit moment. So, like, yeah, like, in terms of oh shit moments, there's...
So it wasn't like oh shit, it was like oh shit.
Right.
Yeah,
like,
oh,
some moments in my career, I'm like, oh shit, like, I feel like it's awful. But there's some moments in your career, like,
I'm glad
oh,
you
shit.
spun that in a positive way.
Like,
I like that better than what we asked.
That was
positive.
That was a way better answer than I was anticipating.
You made me think of something interesting where you're like, you know, I've accommodated these artists so much that when you ask for a little favor, they can do it. What's that dynamic like with artists? Where, I mean, I feel like there's such a free, like, flowing group of people, you know what I mean? Are they, like, put out when they have to change their plans, or... Like...
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, what I asked was a huge favor, because artists hate that shit.
Really?
I bet.
Like,
I've always seen it in, like, TV shows and shit, but, like, you never know if that's, like, real, true to the actual...
It's just, like... Let's just think of this, right? Like, in terms of your energy, right? You're an artist, and you are... like, putting all of this emotion into what you're about to perform. And maybe you're remembering things from the past that, like, make you really depressed or really sad or whatnot, right? So, like, you're going through this, right?
Yeah.
You got a whole bunch of emotions in your head. And, you know, the best artists are the ones who have the most like, nerves.
Yeah.
To me. So, yeah, like
You're now fucking with their space.
I'm now fucking
they're
with
just
their
trying
space.
to get comfortable.
They're trying to get comfortable, and now I've thrown a curveball at them because of like my golden rule of like a performance, or like when I'm trying to prepare for a performance, is like I want to make sure this artist doesn't have to worry about anything.
Yeah.
I don't want them to worry about anything. Like I want them, like as soon as they come into the room, all I want to tell them is like everything, like they'll start asking questions like, is this taken care of? This is taken care of? Like I'll just tell them like, look, everything is taken care of.
Yeah.
All I want you to do is just focus on having a great show and just having fun.
Dude, they must love you. They must
Don't worry
love
about
you,
anything.
dude.
If something's wrong, you just tell me. I will find a way to take care of it. But I try to make sure there are no problems in the beginning. But if something goes wrong, like, you just deal with it.
Yeah. Badass, dude. That's awesome. I love that
Dude,
insight.
so
into
you're
what
you're
behind the
basically
scenes are
just
like.
a professional problem solver, right? Is that
Professional problem solver, professional, we do everything, right? Like, we're the babysitter, we're the counselor, we're the problem solver, we're, the parent. Like, we're the friend. We're
Whatever they need.
Like, whatever they need, we're there
Right.
for them.
That's pretty dope.
It's dope. I love it.
I feel like it's a unique experience, too, to interact with people that are emotionally in, like, a raw state. Which I feel like a lot of artists, before they perform, are. It's you're opening yourself to a vulnerable experience where you're, like... going back to what you were saying beforehand about the, creating music that creates a movie, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you're creating emotions because you made them, like, those were emotions you felt when you made that music,
Mm-hmm.
And to open yourself up, like, with that in an audience, I'm sure just makes you even more emotional. I've always thought of artists to be a very emotionally raw and connected group of people.
Which is why, like, to me as a manager, it's, like, my job as, like, a manager and light worker to protect that energy and protect that.
True.
Because
that's such a cool idea.
They're at the
I love
forefront.
that.
They're at that forefront of just this sacred energy, right?
Yeah.
And like, there's nothing more that I want to do to just make sure that energy and that sacred nature is, unchanged.
I love that.
I
That's
want
so
the purest form
That's
of their
such a cool
raw
way to put
talent and
that.
art. And I mean, that's why.
Just protect them until they can unleash that.
Exactly.
That's
like,
so sick.
That's
I
what
love that.
I want to do. Like, I mean, like, I know I'm an artist manager, but I always like to see myself as a light worker.
That's awesome.
No.
That's freaking cool.
Yeah.
Just like
I love that.
helping people, like, especially artists just reaching their maximum potential. Like, that's
That's your job in a
If that's
nutshell.
all I can do, if that's all I can do, like, I'm doing okay.
That's badass.
Right on, man. So, Finn, you want to line up the question? We're trying to pivot away from your personal story now and maybe pick your brain a little bit more about the music industry as a whole.
Yeah.
Given you have some, experience within it with some very, up and coming artists and also some very well established artists. Obviously, the guy composed the Odessa, helped compose the Odessa album. He scored the national anthems for the 2012 Olympics in London.
Or was it 2012? Yeah, 2012
I think so.
or 08. I can't remember.
08 was
either
Beijing. So.
Beijing. So, you might have done Beijing actually.
Either one.
He did Beijing. It's
Either one.
Oh, he did
very
Beijing.
sick.
I didn't even know that.
It's Beijing.
But you're close to the scene. Like, you probably know more about music than, Will and I. We're kind of catching the aftermath of this production. We're not catching the, in the studio or, even before then, what these guys are kind of drafting up in their heads as a band. So, I guess let's just kind of framing this question. You got, in my mind, you got jazz, right? And jazz blows up and it's explosive and it's incredible.
Right.
And then rock comes in and then jazz kind of moves to the background. And rock has this explosion and it creates an entirely new wave of music that, you start off with like Chuck Berry, which is like very doo-woppy rock, and then it just goes into all sorts of, estuaries, I think.
Yeah.
It starts off with this big river, this flow, and then it just goes into like, like basically you can track the Beatles, you got like psychedelic rock, you've got all these different forms of rock. Even now you got all
and then
rock.
you got
Also,
Steve Perry
nice,
and Journey
nice
where-
dead shirt, Finn.
Yep, gotta rep the
Represent.
dead.
Yeah.
My dogs.
It's crazy you say that because, like, you think of, like, rock from, like, like you were saying, Chuck Berry to Elvis, and then, like, there's Steve Perry now, and he's singing, faithfully, and he's got this alto voice. He's like, highway run. And it's like, holy shit. And
like, how did we get here?
How did we get here?
Yeah, what happened?
But it's crazy because you got these movements, it feels like. These, like, cultural movements and also artistic movements. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then more recently, it's like rock's dead is the thing. Is everyone's like, oh, rock's dead.
Rock's not dead.
I
It just
agree.
evolved.
I
It just
agree.
evolved
It's
into
just
what it is
evolved
now.
into what it is now.
Yeah.
But then you've got rap. You know what I mean? And
Right.
rap's kind of like taking the forefront of, at least it
Mhm.
seems like the majority of things produced are this. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I'm with you, dude.
Right.
There's no way rock's dead.
No.
I won't allow it.
It can't be.
No.
I literally won't allow it.
You know the crazy thing though, all of this music we're seeing, like even Bach, right? Even further back, goes to a couple Neanderthals in a cave
Exactly. Like
who evolved to the point where they've learned to communicate using written song
Yeah.
and like spoken language, right?
Or just
if I could
making
go
it
back,
on-
if I could go back and smoke a J with anyone, like, that would be the place.
That
I'd
was going to be
really
a
back.
question.
with the cave guys, just with
Yeah,
the
I
cave
just wanna
guys.
see
What kind of
I
songs
just want
were
to
they
see
making?
that because that was the start of everything that we know. Like, because look, there are things in this world you cannot communicate through spoken or written language. You have
Mhm.
to communicate it through music because it does
Right.
things we don't even understand. Like even science doesn't
It
understand.
communicates with the masses on a level that you're like, it's impossible to understand. It's
Yeah.
emotional.
Yeah.
It's like another language, to be honest.
Like,
That's how
I'm
feel
telling
about
you,
it.
I would be the happiest guy on the earth just to sit back, watch this thing happening and unfold, and just smoke this joint because you're just seeing history.
Yeah.
You're seeing the
History
world change
unfold.
So,
forever.
like, would they be down with the J or? I don't know.
Would they even know? Would they even know what it is?
Definitely not.
You'd actually just progress through human development by like 2,500 years.
Yeah,
and just
like,
fuck the whole
if
thing
I
up.
fuck it all, go back in
Yeah.
time, I get, smoke a joint with them, and now I come back.
Gravity's
there's,
the next step. It
ever,
just evolves.
there's just flying cars all over the place. I'm just like, what the fuck did I do?
Like, what happened?
What the hell?
So this
finish.
question though, so all of a sudden you got rap, right? And rap,
Mhm.
you know, rock is the background and rap's in the foreground, and we've got all these evolutions of rap where you start
Mhm.
off with basically like 80s, 90s rap, like
Mhm.
hardcore kind
Well, it started in Harlem,
Yeah.
originally in New York, and then it kind of bled. There's East Coast versus West Coast
of
rap,
yeah,
and then
super like
fast all the way forward. People
more
are
of
like,
a tale of the streets there. You know what I mean? It's more
Right.
like kind of connects to like that kind of like storytelling. You know,
Mhm.
So you guys know about music. What are you talking about?
I mean, I just watched a
music
documentary
history, but
about
not
it one time.
not like I feel like there's a difference between knowing about like history and music and then knowing about like the composition of
Mhm.
music and like
Yeah.
that like precious creation of it. You know what I mean?
Like, we can't
I would-
pretend like
I
we
would
know
do-
shit when you just rip that fiddle to start.
Yeah,
that
dude,
But
like-
hey, I mean, I don't know, compared to someone who's been in the industry 40, 50 years, or just even, anyone, right? I don't know shit either.
Mhm.
No one really knows anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all just trying to, learn, right? It's
Sure.
if you ask me about, if you ask me about funk music, I might know a little, but if you ask me about, EDM, I know virtually nothing.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
totally feel you. Also, one of the beauties of music, though, is it connects, everyone's got their taste. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like what you like to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no right.
There's no right, there's no wrong.
But I guess what I'm saying is, where do you see the future of music going? I mean, it's an
Mhm.
impossible question,
Right,
and it's not one that you necessarily have the answer to. You know what I mean? It's just where do you see that next
Mhm.
evolution? If we're in this rap phase
Mhm.
right now, and there must be something about that
Yeah.
form
Yeah.
of communication that rings true to everybody.
Mhm.
It's achieved mass consumption. You know
Mhm.
what I mean? Because we all take part in it. It
Right.
feels right for some reason.
Right.
You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It reaches out to you in a way. Where do you think that next? And I guess it's really looking at where people are at. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And where's
Right.
society at? What do we
Mhm.
want? What do we need? What music will fill that hole?
Mhm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It will speak to us in that way. So where do you think that will be? What kind of music?
Well, I've always, in my mind, thought of music as, being the platform to encourage the conversations that
Mm-hmm.
may be difficult,
Mm-hmm.
may, bring about a lot of pain, a lot of dark memories from the past, or a lot of, oppression and hate, but also on that, other side of the spectrum brings back a lot of love and acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, in terms of genres and where I see the future of music going, I really do see a more, accepting and a more unique genre where people take from all these genres and create it your own to spread that same message or
Mhm.
whatever message you need. Like, because the thing with like genres, like it doesn't matter if it's hip hop or classical or you know, rock, right? We're communicating similar things, similar
Yeah.
discussions, similar topics, right? And to me, like, one of the reasons why I started to work with Undecided Future is because I see what they do as the future of music, the future of what music is going to be, right?
Mm-hmm.
And especially with, you know, the band, they're very all about positivity and spreading love. And I think we're going to see a lot of music moving towards that area where it's going to be used more to heal people and to bring people, you know, closer together, like different races, different, you know,
Interesting.
sexuality and gender and all these, you know, differences, and just wipe that shit away and come to the realization that it is all about love. And, you know, like, we're all on this tiny blue planet together. And
So do you see like a second
Yeah.
wave of like hippie movement? Maybe like a different like
I mean,
vessel?
the hippie movement has always been around.
Maybe like a different vessel. Like it's not going to be the same type of music. You know what I mean? But like same common message of like
I just, you know,
inclusivity and
of course, like
peace,
inclusive
love.
Yeah, inclusivity, like, you know, fuck racism, fuck
Yeah.
oppression, fuck, you know, everything that, you know, hate stands for.
Yeah.
It's I think we're just gonna I think it's gonna help us evolve as a better society and as a better you know, more mindful. And, you know, it's funny, I was talking to Brandon Posturak
Yeah.
you know, today, and he was talking about, you know, the thing
What up, B?
what
Shout
are
out
the-
to Brandon.
You
know,
better be listening to
Shout
this,
out to
bro.
Brandon. You know, one of the things that, like, he was telling me is, like, there's research that, like, Gen Zers, like, the number one thing they, you know, are motivated towards right now is they want to, like, leave an impact. They want to leave a legacy and something behind to make the world a better place. And
Go us. Dude. That's awesome.
I truly believe in that, and I have, like, despite everything going on in the world, like, I have hope that music will heal us all. You know,
I like
That's
that.
a
I like
fantastic
that take a
segue.
lot. I love that take.
Fantastic segue. Speaking of fuck racism, I want you to talk about your what you guys did most recently with your most recent release.
Oh, that's dope.
Where you said you would donate all of your streaming proceeds from your most recent release called Hey Mama, which is out on all platforms. Go stream it. For what was the cause?
Yeah, so we're donating all our streaming proceeds for Hey Mama to Feeding Black Futures, which is a local organization here in LA that help local mothers and especially mothers of, you know, minorities and people of color, to help, you know, those that were incarcerated or have been marginalized in the community. And so the big thing for us is we want people to stream that song as much as possible, because, like, the more streams we get, the more money we can donate, right?
So true.
So it's really like we would love to give, you know, a few $1,000s to Feeding Black Futures, but like, we need, you know, a couple 100,000 streams to be able to do that, right? So, like,
how do you monetize streams? Like,
That's such a
could
good
you
question.
break down in a simple way for our listeners to understand, however many are here?
right.
All four of you.
How does a musician actually get paid based off streams? Because I remember J. Cole had a great bar that it was like, how many people faking their streams, getting their plays from machines, right?
Right.
So seems like bots are used quite commonly to maybe fib their streams sometimes. I don't even know what kind of benefit you get out of that, about lying about your numbers, but like, how do you actually make money from streaming?
Honestly, I kind of want to tie this into just how does an artist monetize their work in general?
That's
Because
helpful. Honestly, it's such a mystery to, like,
everyone
the
talks
average
about streaming, but it is really a small sliver of how much you can do, right?
Okay.
So, here, like, in a nutshell, like, if we want to talk about music business 101, right? Say an artist records an album, and they want to release that album, right? And, you know, like, and through there, like, they have a certain amount of, like, percentage of share of the song. on the master side, which is the recording
Mm-hmm.
of the actual sound recording. The writer share, which is actually the composition, so the music you hear and the lyrics, or the written lyrics. And then there's the publishing, and publishing always matches your writer share, because if you have a percentage of composition or writer share, you have that same percentage of publishing.
Mm-hmm.
And this is very critical for artists to understand.
Okay.
If you know this, you are set.
Now, what's majority, minority? Like, in terms of percentages of that
Right,
share.
so, like, that is determined between, like, the collaborators of the song. Like, you might walk into a room, like, we're going to split this 50-50, so, like, we're going to split the writer's share 50%.
Is it safe to say that almost never happens, 50-50?
No, it happens.
Okay.
It just depends on, like, how many writers are in the room, and...
What about
like,
the master share?
There's a lot of factors, right? Like, if you're with a record label, the number is going to be different. Their label is almost going to want a percentage. For example, for your masters, right? If you have a record label, the record label will almost always want to own the masters outright.
Mm.
But they will not take your writer's share and they might take a little bit of your publishing if their affiliate publisher, admins you or like represents your publishing.
Mm-hmm.
But a big no for a record label or any like publishing company period is to take writer's share. That is for the artist. They get to keep that. So that's, and like, this is a lot of information, right?
Right.
So
No,
that's where performance.
Could you potentially break it down in terms of the total value of a song?
Right. All right.
Writer share, master, publishing. What percentage could you put those
on
in?
average?
Is it 33 split even, or is it?
Like I said, like if you got like
with a label.
With a label. All right. So
talk about being independent versus being. Like your cut being independent versus your cut being on a label.
Like your boys walk into Sony right now, and Sony's like, "Here's your deal. What is it?"
Right. So if I were to walk in right now with Sony, most likely they're going to send me what is a multiple rights agreement or a 360 deal.
Okay.
Which, long story short, is not a good deal. Do not ever try to get a 360 deal unless you got a bidding war with the record labels where you are a hot commodity and Sony is trying to like sign you, as well as Universal Records and Warner wants and Atlantic and like all these other labels want to like get this artist, so they're going to be a little more flexible in terms of the negotiation. So like for a new artist, right? Maybe in terms of royalties, we're not talking about like publishing and writers and all of that right now. We're talking about total album sales, right? If you're doing like streaming or album sales, new artists like anywhere from like maybe 12%, approximately 12 to 15% of royalties.
Okay.
Right.
It's not a lot, dude.
Which is not a lot because if
you put in all the freaking work,
right,
and you get almost.
Well, here's usually, and here's the scary thing too. Like, let's say this label gives you an advance.
Okay.
Let's say this label gives you $1 million to record this album, right? And the record makes $1 million. You didn't recoup that $1 million. Your recoupment counts towards that 12% of royalties you've earned.
So you get 12% of zero.
Right. So like, let's say like you owe $1 million and you have to pay back this $1 million. You get like that counts towards every time you get 12% of like your royalties, right? The record label just counts that as like part of your recoupment. So this is why like in the industry,
future albums you're paying back the original.
Oh yeah, you're still paying back the advance, which is
that's
why
like sharecropping, dude.
Like, it is sharecropping in a way.
That's
oh my god.
Which is why 90 to 95% of record label acts under record labels fail.
Okay.
Because there's just a ridiculous.
Is that true? 90 to 95%?
Yeah, 90 to 95% of.
Dude, that's so sad. I usually think, oh, you got signed by a label, you made it. You know what I mean?
No, you don't make it. Like they'll give you like album options. And
do you think it's because of how they structure these deals? And do you think that contributes to like a lack of motivation or a lack of creativity? Like, what do you think that's due to?
No, I just think like
Jesus.
I can't really speak to that.
Okay.
I just I always just understood the contracts and what the provisions were and what's okay and what you're gonna have to like deal with and what you're gonna be like fuck no, right?
Yeah.
So knowing those numbers, you should never sign with a record label.
Well,
if you want to bet on yourself to be the 5%,
but
makes it.
No, that's not fair because guess what? The record label can pull that off. There must be some incentive to sign with them. You know what I mean? Otherwise, they wouldn't get away with murder.
I mean, look, like...
So what's the incentive to sign with them?
A lot of, like, especially as a new artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are an independent artist and you're trying to promote, promotion's expensive.
Yeah, they've got the infrastructure.
Like, you know, like, if you go out and you see, like, a Taylor Swift, like, album on a billboard, like, that thing could cost from anywhere from, like, $10,000 a month to, like, in some places, like, maybe it could cost you, like, 6 figures.
Yeah.
Especially in New York, like, that's not, like, a outstanding amount of money. Like, 6 figures, like, it might cost that much to have your thing up in Times Square.
Probably does.
So it costs millions and millions and millions of dollars, right? As an independent artist, you're not going to have that capital. Which is why a lot of artists that, you know, sign to a record label have already built up enough following and clout that the record label's interested. So the incentive really at that point is just you're going to get the money from the label to promote the music.
Right.
But, you know, alternatively, like, because the record label is providing you money for the recording costs and all this promotion, they're going to want to own the masters. Which is why I always tell every artist I meet, like, the masters you're going to maybe have to deal with if you're going to sign with the label. But whatever happens, always protect your publishing.
Always, and writing.
And what does that mean? Like,
well, here's the thing.
I've got the masters on the show, but what is bringing your publishing with you go? Like,
publishing is perpetuity, right? If you have 20% of this song, right? Every time someone does a cover, every time this thing goes on to, you know,
the radio,
a radio or greatest hits album, you get 20% of the royal, or like 20% of that share of that song, right?
Sure.
So if you don't protect your publishing, and, you know, other writers or other producers or even a label fucks you out of your publishing, you're getting screwed, and you can't do anything about it.
So every time you hear your song, you literally cringe, thinking, "Oh my god!"
Right. Well, at least with a master, right? Like, that's just the sound recording.
Yeah.
So, if you have majority publishing on a song, and the record label owns your master, and you're like, I really want to own my master, but they want me to pay like $3 million to buy it back, and I really don't want to do that, you can just say, fuck it, I'm going to go re-record this song. You cut out the record label completely from that.
So you can just re-record it?
But isn't it copyright?
It's copyright, but, you know, if you like, I mean, of course you have to look at the contracts, right?
Okay.
Because, like, there might be a buyback clause where you can buy the masters back, or buy the rights to the masters back, right? If the record label owns the rights to your masters, you're in for a tough situation. But if you have an option in your contract to buy back your masters, do so, and I recommend you do so, because at least that gives you the right, once you have, like, you know, millions of dollars in the bank, if you want to own back those, like, the rights back, just get your works back.
So now that we've broken down the economics of a record label deal, talk about what the equivalent would look like if you go the independent route, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Undecided Future has decided to do that.
For like, definitely for now, like, we are, Undecided Future is partnered with an independent label, Dem Joints Creative, who made us what we are.
Dem Joints.
And, like, we're very, like, you know, he's like family to us, like, so we're very fair, you know what I mean, in that case. But anyway, record label to independent, and I think a great example of this actually is going to be when Frank Ocean dropped Blonde, in 2016.
Awesome.
Talk about that.
Before he dropped Blonde, Frank Ocean was signed to Def Jam, and I think it was like, and I can't recall the numbers, but maybe it was around the ballpark of about 17%. He was getting 17% of back in royalties.
For Channel Orange, right?
For all his
Channel
albums.
Orange,
This is for his record deal, period, right?
Yeah.
Because they lock in that royalty rate for your record label for the amount, the entire term, until you renegotiate. So, yeah, he had, like, released a few albums, and, like, you know, in artist contracts with record labels, they will stipulate that, like, you need to release X amount of albums. Right? So, I can't remember which album it was, but Frank dropped the last album. But what no one knew about was he had this other album called Blonde, which was just an incredible album. Like, both albums were incredible.
Yeah, he dropped that, like, music movie situation.
It was interesting, but the thing that, like, is in a way, and I may get a little bit of hate for this, but was a genius business move, right? Was at some point, Frank Ocean probably came to the conclusion that he was not happy with his record deal and wanted to move on and like have more creative control and more ownership of his works. And so he, you know, went to specifically for example, like a streaming service or a platform, Apple Music. He went specifically to Apple Music and gave them a deal that at the time, like, was unprecedented and, you know, was the start of a lot of, controversy and topics. He went to Apple Music, and Apple Music, I think, gave him an advance of $20 million for an exclusive release of Blonded only on Apple Music, right?
Apple Music was scheming this shit.
Which means...
They knew what was
But they knew, but they were quiet about it. But the interesting thing...
I would have loved to be in that room.
And that's the thing, I love analyzing things, so it's always interesting to me the thought process behind this, right?
This is political, dude.
Tim Coates just we're gonna fuck over the whole music industry. Love it.
Oh, that's political.
This is just an interesting... I mean, Apple's always been kind of, like, you know, at that forefront of, like, pushing buttons and, like, rethinking everything, right? But, now, the interesting thing, right, is, like, if I'm thinking as a manager, right, under an exclusive release deal, right, this is only getting released through Apple Music. So if you're a Spotify listener, if you are on Tidal or any of these other platforms, you're not going to see them on there. Like, you're not going to get them.
Oh, I went through this, dude.
So how is, like, you have to think about the logistics of, like, how many fans are we alienating through this process? And maybe, like I said, I wasn't in that room, but at some point there was probably a conclusion that the benefits of doing this deal outweighed the negative effects.
Cost benefit.
It also doesn't, you know, hurt that you got a $20 million advance, right?
Right.
And also,
is that how much it was? Do you know that?
Like, I think I read an article that said $20 million.
I also want to add,
I would take the 20 mil too.
Dude, take the 20 mil, but also there's a degree to this
it was either 2 mil or 20 mil. But I think it was 20 mil.
There's no way.
I'm gonna have to look this up later tonight and let you know.
There's
like,
no
we have to
way.
like put a description later to like update it.
Asterisk.
Maybe the YouTube commenters can tell us.
Yeah,
if
hopefully
it was 2
someone
or
will
20.
be able to like track it down.
If we're
I
lucky
think there
enough to
are
have
articles that
any.
said 20 million.
Yeah.
But
Dude, but there's an element to that though, where not only do you get that money, but especially with this album, you've got the element of everyone who was so highly anticipated.
Oh,
Channel Awards was incredible. I think it'd been like 4 years.
such
He
a
had talked
long
about
wait,
releasing this, and he had kind of flirted with doing it and didn't do it a couple of times. Then you get this music movie, and you're like, it's dope, but that's not what I wanted. It wasn't. You weren't made whole.
It looked like a tease. It literally looked like a tease.
Exactly.
And
then
it was.
you hear Blonde's out on Apple Music, and I didn't have Apple Music, but I waited till it came out on Spotify.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I wasn't about to drop the bands, but I waited.
Which is actually interesting.
I was like, it didn't alienate me at all. It just made me like,
maybe pissed off at people who were at Apple Music.
It made me a little jealous, no doubt, but it just made me satiate, like thirst for the album more, dude. I like wanted it, like especially all your friends are like, dude, it's so freaking good. You know?
That's interesking though, like the fact that it got released on Spotify, so there must have been a clause in that contract that the exclusivity was for a certain like time period. But like that was just an interesting like analytical decision, and I hope someone in the future actually does either a breakdown or like an actual walkthrough. Because, like, as a manager, that deal really interests me. It's just, like, the logistics and the pieces around that. Like,
so smart.
Because, like, you know what I mean? It's like, it was perfectly executed.
And flawless.
If it wasn't, like, and it was one of those deals where if even one thing went wrong, the whole thing gets fucked.
Yeah.
Right.
I hope whoever Frank Ocean's manager at that time got paid well for his services.
So you were telling me, though, like, 70, he didn't get 17% anymore. Right. He got 70% of those royalties.
He went from 17% to 70%.
So he's getting the exclusivity deal probably and all that money.
Right.
That's
but like
sick,
keep in mind, $20 million advance, somehow he's got to recoup that $20 million.
And he definitely
Maybe he got a better recoupment deal.
Yeah.
But he definitely did through this deal because he's now got a little, like, he's not working against the, the tide, where he's got 17% of the deal. He's got 70%. Most of that money's going to him anyway, so it's very easy to recoup at that point.
Yeah, if you get a lot more of
it's
the
much
pie.
easier.
Yeah.
I don't know if this preceded him dropping blonde in that way, but I know that Drake did literally the exact same thing. I don't know if it was to the exact same label, but when he dropped If You're Reading This Now, It's Too Late, which is actually like one of my favorite Drake projects he's ever dropped.
He did them a service. Though.
Everybody saw it, and it was released as a mixtape, and we were like, oh, cool, Drake dropped a mixtape. That's a little weird. Even though he had been promoting like this big drop that was coming, supposed to come later that year, like 6 months later. I don't know which album it was. It like either Views or Scorpion, a big album.
Views.
So what he did was he drops that album, ends his deal with the record label, starts OVO Sound, and then boom, starts making uber money off his next project.
And it works well for him because like at the end of the day, right, when you got a fan base like that, they're gonna follow you wherever you go.
Yeah.
Like you can jump labels, you can create your own label, you can do whatever the hell you want.
That's the interesting dynamic about this, and it really ties into our discussion about the masters and all that. Is there's a time where it seems you need a label and you kind of depend on them almost. And then there's another time where it's like, I'm big enough, I'm grown. Like, I don't need your help anymore. You're actually taking advantage of me. Actually, it sounds like they're always taking advantage of you. There's just a point in time where you can call their bullshit and you don't need their help anymore, and you don't need to let it happen anymore. You know what I mean?
I mean, like, the thing with the labels is, like, a lot of artists feel like they're getting fucked over, but, like, honestly, it is a very symbiotic relationship.
True.
Like, I always, I always like to see, like, yeah, of course the labels have it structured that way because they've had it structured like that since the 50s.
Yeah.
You know? And they aren't really, like, they're very slow at, like, moving towards that. But we're in a situation now, right? Like, and they could do that in the 70s and the 60s and the 50s, but we're in a situation now where, like, Spotify and all these digital service platforms are now starting to try to create distribution companies and labels through that company, right? So now we're in a situation where the labels are scrambling and they're trying to figure out, like, how are we going to compete with this? Because, like, they now starting to feel like they're a dying breed, right?
True.
This brings me into a question I've been meaning to ask you, which is, I want to talk about the disruption of this industry, where it's like, we have technology just busting holes in almost every industry, where it's like, okay, the old way of doing business is not acceptable anymore.
Right.
And I feel like in music, especially, what you're talking about right now, you have Spotify, who describe the distribution they're creating.
Spotify is really interesting and unique in a way where...
Like, are they serving as a label, technically?
They're serving as, an all-encompassing... Like, they're almost starting to, like... I almost see them as trying to become a actual label in themselves.
I get that.
Because you have these playlists, right, that have tremendous impact on your streaming numbers and tremendous impact on...
Like Rap Caviar.
Right.
Rap
Caviar.
New Music Friday. If you can get
Yes.
a New Music Friday as an independent artist,
dude,
it's incredible, right?
Yeah.
And... like, these curators have that power, and a lot of the things that, like, a lot of the times, the labels actually these days will have a representative from Spotify
like an ambassador.
or Apple, like an ambassador that works with them, right? So, like, when, you're working on the management team,
dude,
you'll have a
distribution
team, right? And part of that team is a representative from Spotify or Apple that works for Spotify or Apple, but speaks to the distribution team, right? So, like, we can always tell them, like, look, like, we're interested in New Music Friday. Do you know people that are the curators that we can pitch this to, right?
Yeah. Do you think they take any cash for putting songs on those playlists?
You know what's really interesting?
I've always been highly skeptical.
You know what's really interesting about that? I've never had a situation like that, but with radio.
Totally.
Radio
Payola.
for sure.
Yeah.
Payola, and it's illegal now, right?
Yeah, you got to
But they still do it.
spins,
But they
dude.
still do it.
Yeah.
Sometimes, They're like, there's
Anything
some radios
where there's-
that do it.
Yeah,
They still do it.
anything where there's pockets of powers, there's going to be people that use that power.
That's
to
so
their advantage,
crazy.
you
So
know
they
what I mean?
have each record label has someone that they hire specifically to build a good relationship with Spotify, so that their songs will be put on popular.
Well, they're
playlists.
just part of like that company, and like they'll
industry
assign
as a whole,
the client one of them, right? So like if we're using let's say CD Baby, for example, as a distribution service where they are going to take the music and they are going to distribute it to all of these platforms, right? Like maybe we'll have a representative from Spotify that works for CD Baby, but also is a representative, like talks specifically to the representatives at Spotify, right?
I know what you mean. My buddy worked at Warner Music, and like they had a streaming department that literally it's just like their job was to basically work with not just like radio, but also like Spotify.
Right,
those
and their
radio-
job, like what they're doing is they're just talking to all those people that the label has to help promote, like, because the label's promoting the album, right? But they're also talking to the management team because we're in the call listening, and like, at the end of the day, we have to bring it back to the artist, be like, here's what they want to do. Do you want to prove this or not?
It makes you think, when does the real disrupt happen and they cut out the middleman? And it's like,
Seriously.
we don't need the ambassador to the label. Spotify goes directly
Well, the
to
thing
artists.
is, the thing that's so interesting to me is
they
like
find the
a lot of the
artists.
value that they bring to you is the infrastructure to be able to self-promote for an album drop,
Mm-hmm.
right? And the thing with social media these days is sometimes the artists themselves have a bigger following than the label ever could.
Totally.
Right.
In terms of literally millions of followers. And if you have garnered a relationship with your follower base over many years, meticulously being on top of your content the way you're talking about, who's to say that you need them in the first place?
Yeah.
Well, like, here's what I'll say. Like, I don't want to bash on labels too much because they're great. Like,
There's a reason
you can have a great partnership with a record label. There's always going to be like situations where, of course, like, you might not get the best deal or whatever, right? Labels are great in a way of like they have that capability of introducing you to a bigger audience, and like we're always going to need labels for that case. And well, like I love labels because like they have nurtured and developed some of my favorite artists in the industry. Like,
Sure.
They're incredibly good at what they do, and they have incredible A&R staff, incredible stream. Like they have incredible people.
They must provide some sort of value if they've
provide,
been around
and they
this,
provide so much value. You know what I mean? But like, I'm just saying this as like, if I was working at a label, of course I'm going to say great things about the label, but like as a manager, I have to push back on some things because, look, here's the thing, like there's I don't know if you guys know who Donald Passman is.
No.
But he's a lawyer in the entertainment industry, and he wrote like one of the books I consider the Bible to me of Donald Passman's All You Need to Know About the Music Business.
Okay.
And he talks in the book about a theory he has about, it's called Passman's Theory of Technological Cycles. And it's a great example of like
That
streaming.
sounds like some
Kaito's
heat.
about to drop some major
This
knowledge.
is some
Listen up.
heat alert.
So here's the interesting thing, right? So this happens, this happened when vinyl went to CD.
Okay.
CD went to vinyl went to tape, cassette went to CD, and it's just gone to streaming now, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's always a theory that when there's a new piece of technology that comes out and it's relatively unknown, no one's gonna really know the implications.
Yeah.
Right? The disruption in the industry.
Mm.
So a lot of times, right, the first thing a label will do is they're gonna like panic, go through all their contracts and see what it says.
Yeah.
Right? And they're gonna realize that like in most cases we're being a little too generous because
we didn't
expect this to happen.
plan for this.
So then
yeah.
they'll go and change that up, and like this is where like a few years ago they were saying like, oh, the streaming services suck, we don't get enough money. And there's a lot of other steps and processes that go through. It's a very complex process, and a little too much detail and a little too technical maybe for some of the viewers here.
Mhm.
But at the end of the day, the thing, like the conclusion is things always stabilize
Mhm.
Okay.
back to a normal rate, right? So it just so happens with streaming, like it's taken a while for the industry to figure out like how we're gonna like navigate this, because it's something that was completely unheard of, and no one knew that was gonna create this much impact.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm sure whatever comes after streaming, we're gonna be in a similar situation,
Gotcha.
which is, I think, not only just for technological cycles. I think this is just a future of the industry, right? Like there's gonna be a lot of things that happen, especially right now with COVID. We have to learn to adapt and just find a way to like survive in this new disruption. Like the best businesses are always going to survive because they know how to adapt to a situation.
Mhm.
Right? Like the Navy SEALs, they're so good because they adapt
Yeah.
very quickly, and they have a mindset where if something goes to shit, they're going to adapt to it like that, and they're going to execute it regardless. Like there is no fear in that situation. So I really do think like eventually, I think the future of labels are going to be like more cooperative.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna have. There's gonna be a lot of destruction, but I think the industry as a whole is gonna come out stronger.
Yeah.
That's
Kaito,
so many phenomenal insights.
Kaito,
there.
that was awesome, dude.
Seriously,
that was
I was just like
things.
munching on what you were saying in my head, and I was like, dude, I've got like, I want to talk for another hour.
The second you started talking about the theory of, what was it called?
It's Passman's theory of technological cycles.
Right. Finn and I both looked at each other and we're like,
oh, fuck.
uh-oh. This is why we invited you here, bro.
Yeah.
All right. So that's a great segue, talking about the changing of the industry.
Mm-hmm.
Because one of the segments that we're going to have on the show that will never change is our What's Up Doc. That
I'm glad you remembered it. I was not going to remember
the viewers that watched episode 1 know all about the What's Up Doc.
I was about to forget
And
it.
just so you know, so I'm big into Looney Tunes. And I effed this up on the last episode. It's obviously Bugs Bunny who says, "What's up, Doc?" And Doc is the guy who's trying
You
to
said
hunt
that
him.
farmer dude.
Yeah, I totally messed that up. That was me being dumb. I do love Looney Tunes and know that
He's a
Bugs Bunny
fraud.
says that, right? And I also love documentaries. And I'm going to switch it up from what we had actually pre-planned because this just came up in my head. The Defiant Ones, okay? The Defiant Ones is a documentary,
so good.
a multi-part documentary series on HBO about Dr. Dre and Jimmy Iovine, right? These dudes are so badass. Everybody obviously
sharp.
Love Dre,
They're
love
like-
Jimmy Iovine. They're legends.
Everybody
Icons.
Respect.
obviously knows who Dr. Dre is, but Jimmy Iovine is basically the mastermind behind Dr. Dre and Interscope Records, which obviously
He's the mastermind behind Dr. Dre and like 14 other
yeah,
artists.
just basically.
Going from like metal, super punk.
Oh yeah,
like,
U2. Who else? God, Tame Impala now, obviously, but
who's the guy that wrote "Hurt" by Johnny Cash? He's the original guy that wrote it.
ooh,
Travis something.
dang, I
He's
don't
the
know.
lead
Oh,
singer
man.
for that metal band. I think it's Alice in Chains, but I don't want to
Maybe Alice in
sound like an
Chains.
idiot.
But basically, Jimmy Iovine is a master, and we were just talking about how streaming changed the whole game, right? And the last part of the documentary, he's talking about how he kind of saw the change of the industry on the horizon, and basically realized that he, as an owner of a label, is going to become pretty much obsolete in the near future, and that's what gave him the idea to partner with his homie Dr. Dre and make beats, and then Apple bought it for $2 billion, and everybody's happy.
What a brilliant dude, too, to have that foresight. I mean, he's like, the coolest thing about that documentary to me was seeing how ahead of the curve he was on everything. Single phase of music and business.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't just
Where
having
he's
a
like-
feel for the music, it was having a feel for like how that would change the landscape.
He was originally he was sponsoring gangster rap, is what he was doing, right? And he's this little white Jewish guy from New York,
And
moves
it
to
pissed
LA,
people off, dude.
and he's like, you know what? No, I'm rocking with Dre. He knows exactly what he's doing, and I'm following him. And they both obviously went on to be extremely successful and pioneers.
Pissing
But
people off's a good thing.
yeah,
Apparently,
if you're pissing people
they're
off,
pretty good.
you're doing something right, I think.
Although
totally.
we hope you're happy.
Yeah, not you guys. Hopefully you guys are stoked about what we're talking about. But Finn, what's your What's Up Doc this week?
So my What's Up Doc this week is also on the music theme. It's not completely. It's not really a documentary as much it is a like non-fictional movie. It's called Love and Mercy. It's about Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. And if you're not familiar with his story, it's incredible. He is a mad genius. Have you guys, either of you guys seen it?
No, I will.
No, I haven't.
You guys,
I gotta watch
you
this.
got. It's incredible. So basically, Brian Wilson's with the Beach Boys. They're making this doo-woppy kind of like rock and roll beach music, and we don't know this because we are so far past it. But they were as big as the Beatles at one point.
Yeah,
they were massive. Like
they were huge.
So all of a sudden, he starts having these mental breaks, Brian Wilson, and starts like freaking out, and he's like kind of losing his mind. And he's got this thing called synesthesia, where he sees music with color.
Whoa!
So the Beach Boys start tripping.
Is this because he just did a bunch of acid, or
No. This is like a thing he's born with.
Okay.
This is what Billie Eilish has.
This
which
is
is so good.
Billie Eilish has the
A
same.
lot
Eilish
of
and
artists have this.
Okay.
So he starts doing a bunch of psychedelics, and it both makes his mental illness worse, but also his synesthesia. It like amplifies his synesthesia.
Wow.
So then they make Pet Sounds, and Pet Sounds is regarded to be one of the best albums of all time.
So true.
Paul McCartney said, it's one of the best. And this was the competition. He's like, that's one of the most important pieces of, like music composition ever made.
That inspired them to make Abbey Road. I remember that from his documentary.
There's over 100 different musical components in it. There's the French horn. There's like it is like he had a full like 60-piece orchestra in there, and this guy is sitting there off his nut, dude. He is crazy, like, and he's sitting there listening to them make music and like moving the colors with his like eyes, like rearranging it. And these world-class musicians from like the London Philharmonic are looking at him like, what the is going on? And he's out here like creating pet sounds, which by the way is leagues different than their previous music.
Right.
Their previous music's like all like fun beach music.
Yeah.
And the rest of the Beach Boys are not musical
Good,
like talents.
good,
They're
good,
just old
good vibrations.
Exactly. They're old boys from El Segundo,
Yeah.
and they're just like they're all like, we're rich and we're getting like chicks and like having fun, we're having a good time. You know what I mean? They're just like all there to like do drugs and have fun. This guy's like actually making music, and they're like, this music's not as fun, and he's like, get out of the way. Like I'm like making music, and it takes you through this journey that he has of making it, but it actually becomes so costly that he never performs with the band again.
No way.
He continues to make their music for them, but he never performs. He becomes this recluse to the point where he spends 30 years, I believe 30 years in his bed. Doesn't leave his bed for 30 years. So then...
Well, dude.
I mean, I gotta ask though, like, the mattress, man, like...
Dude, I know. I'm imagining they replaced the mattress.
Dude, that's like Grandpa Joe from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
No, he gained like 200 pounds too. Like, the guy is just in turmoil, like, no one's really looking after. It is just the saddest thing. This therapist comes in and gets him to coax him out of bed, and then gets this thing called a conservatorship, where he legally makes all of his decisions and manages all of his money.
Yeah.
And he is abusing the crap out of Brian Wilson.
No.
And he's like his manager, like he's like technically his like musical manager, and like and his money manager, and his basically it's the equivalent of having the rights of a 3-year-old child is what Brian Wilson has. And this girl finds him and is like, what the hell is going on? Like actually connects to them enough and like tries to connect them enough on a human level. And it's this story of all of this happening and his kind of like triumphant, release from this guy's
I had no clue.
It's
fuck that guy, man.
This story no one knows about, but is like,
wow. That sounds like we have to watch it. What's the name of it again?
Love and Mercy.
Love and Mercy.
Love and Mercy.
Love and Mercy.
I'm gonna watch that tonight.
It's a incredible movie.
Same,
You're
I'm gonna
just
watch
like,
that tonight, too.
holy crap!
Wow,
Like,
that was crazy.
Yeah,
because I love the Beach Boys. I had no clue. How can you spend 30 years in a bed, dude? Holy shit.
30 years in bed,
That
but
blows my mind.
also the fact that
did.
he, in this madness, in this turmoil, in this like craziness, created like almost perfection. Like created like incredible music. Like Pet Sounds slaps for me on a different level.
Dude. That's a fantastic What's Up Doc, dude.
Yeah.
All right. Guess one, Kaito.
Right.
Give him a What's Up Doc.
Hell
yeah. Alright, my What's Up Doc is Homecoming.
Okay.
Homecoming.
That's good.
Where,
Big.
for those who don't know Homecoming, and if you don't watch Homecoming, is Beyonce. And
The Queen.
the whole process through being the first female, person of color headliner for Coachella. The whole process, and you can just see everything it took to get to just that final performance, which, is a great documentary in it, right? With like anyone trying to be in the music industry, right? Because you go and see a show, you come out feeling great and everything, but you don't no one really understands what it took to get all of that in motion. And it's just an incredibly moving and insightful and spiritually just powerful documentary, and it just moved me to such a deep level. And I mean, Beyonce is by far one of my favorite artists because of her raw power and voice. And I mean she might be one of the best singers of all time, man.
Yeah,
she might be one of the greatest.
True.
She's transcendent.
Oh.
She's sick.
It's just
Beyonce's awesome.
It's just incredible what she does, and that performance is just. I mean, I have so little to say about it because I feel like the documentary speaks everything for itself. Right? I'm speechless. It was just an incredible work of art, and there's super
Fantastic.
great documentary.
All right, Homecoming. I think that's on Netflix too. So
I believe so.
again, you should probably have Netflix if you watch this show.
That's that's one of our sponsors, actually.
Yeah, we are sponsored by Netflix
thank
unofficially. Thank you for.
We're gonna get you that money back.
Yeah.
Before we let you go, though,
We have.
I want a rapid fire
Yeah.
off the top of your dome. 4 What's Your Bill Clinton Swag albums.
Yeah. Did you?
You know, like
number
the
one,
Bill Clinton swag.
Did you
thing?
make a Bill Clinton swag Instagram story?
No, I
Where
didn't.
it's like Billy, like.
Did you see them though? You know
I
what
saw
they are?
them. I saw them, and at first I was like, "What the hell is this?"
Yeah.
Right? And by the time I figured it out, I was deep in like production for one of the band's singles that needed to be released.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was like, I don't have time for this shit.
You had
right?
bigger fish to fry.
I got
than
bigger
Bill.
fish to fry.
I got actual music to make.
I got actual music to get out there, so I didn't create one, but
It's basically the idea is 4
Right.
favorite
Your
albums.
your 4 albums that you would be and maybe how about this? You're quarantining for like a
Mhm.
couple weeks,
Right.
And you have 4 albums, and just for the sake of you know what we've been talking about, Undecided Future, we love them, but they cannot be one of them, right?
well, okay.
We're trying to get insight into your personal taste.
Right, all right. Well, this sucks because I love every I just love everything, right? But if I had to pick a top 4, number 1, To Pimp a Butterfly, Kendrick
Oh,
Lamar.
No
Word.
way, dude.
Dude,
Nice.
I feel that. I feel
I
that.
love
that
that.
always has to be.
That's an
Wow,
epic album.
that's
Like,
awesome.
So experimental.
So
Right.
experimental.
2.
That's a
Mac
hot start.
Miller,
I
The
love it.
Divine Feminine.
Oh.
Has to be.
Yes.
Right.
Wow,
There you
Has
go,
to
bro.
be.
You're
dude.
speaking some truth.
3rd album,
You're 2 for.
Anderson .Paak.
Which one? Ventura.
Ventura.
Ventura, bro.
Sick.
Has to be in my
Dude,
collection.
that song with Smokey Robinson is like so
Yeah.
good, bro.
Yeah.
Holy,
King of
It's a
funk right
must
now,
have.
dude.
holy shit. His tour was called the Best Teef in the Game Tour, and Teef was TEEF. I thought that was so funny. 'Cause
What up?
by the way, I was put on by Anderson .Paak by a good friend of mine named Cal. Shout out to Cal. We really got into watching Tiny Desk concerts that were on YouTube, and those are just like they do 2 or 3 songs for the NPR studios in DC, and Anderson .Paak's and Mac Miller's Tiny Desk are the best by far.
Oh, yeah.
And then come to find out, going back to the Divine Feminine, they made a song together, and I never heard it before.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
I literally hadn't heard Dang until like last year.
Dang is, like, my 2 favorites on that album are Cinderella and Dang.
Yeah.
By
Dude,
far.
holy
you
shit,
know,
man.
Those last
2.
3 Mac
Alright.
Cinderella,
albums for me are just.
Cinderella just hit me like hit me
Yeah.
hard.
Yeah.
Because, like, I've been through there. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I've been burned a lot because, like, look, I mean, Journey said it best. Loving a music man ain't always what it's supposed to be,
True.
right? You know, it takes a very special person to
Yeah.
be able to put up with that lifestyle.
All right.
But
so-
anyway, 4th one, and this might surprise y'all. It's not an album, but it's a specific song.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll take that.
You're willing to listen to a song that many times.
As you know, I'm from Montana and I love country music.
Okay.
I did not know that.
Something,
Okay.
even the band I never really talked about. But now, like, Undecided Future, if you're watching, I like my country music.
In LA, that's like a closet thing.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm a
Closet
closet
thing. Ooh,
country
he's
fan.
like-
I
I wanna
am
talk
not
about it.
shameful of it. I am not shameful of it. I will go back to my roots and be proud of them.
All right.
Darius Rucker, Wagon Wheel.
Okay.
Oh, classic. That's
Oh,
classic.
boo! I'm out. I'm walking out, dude. I'm walking out.
You'll
of that.
figure it out.
Old Crow Medicine Show version. The
Oh,
OCMS.
man, he likes the OG.
You like the OCMS
I like
version
oh,
so
alright.
good.
Here's why I like Darius
That's
Rucker.
why you were about to walk out.
Yeah.
Again, Bama has entered the chat.
Bam has entered the chat. I got an opinion of this. I'm
He
not
went, to,
lying.
he went to Alabama, by the way.
Yeah, I get it. Bam is under the chat. All right, like look,
Let's have this debate
The
real
OG,
quick.
the OG is great, right? But to me, Darius Rucker's emotion
Yeah.
and his phrasing in that track executed it perfectly, right? Like I'm very different when it comes to music. Where there are 3 things I always listen to: the lyrics, which Wagon Wheel is a great song. It's a cover,
Yeah.
right? So like
Mhm.
it already passes.
Written by Old Crow Messenger.
Right. The emotion and phrasing.
For
That is
sure.
the hugest. Like,
Yeah.
if you cannot, like, you could be the greatest singer on earth, but if you cannot deliver the phrasing
Mm-hmm.
True.
the right way, it's not good.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And then the third thing is just, the feel, right? It's just like, can you feel that they're in the pocket? Can
Yeah.
you feel like and for musicians out there, like, the pocket, you know
Right.
what that is. For those who don't, it's just a feeling, you know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like, it's just a feeling.
All right.
The phrasing and feeling.
Dude, I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you.
So before
Not saying I hate the OG though. The OG is great. I love the OG.
Before we close, I wanted to give you an opportunity because you had been hinting at some cool things that Undecided Future is planning to do in the very near future, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to plug them a little bit before we close out.
Of course. So kind of talking about just like disruption in the industry. We talked about like we're focusing a lot on content, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Undecided Future is we are now starting a little mini show on every Friday, and we are going to call it Future Fridays.
Fridays.
It's just a little mini like skit where it's kind of a play on the Eric Andre show, but it's also got a unique.
Yes, that's
It's also got
I love the Eric
Andre. You
It's
freak.
also got a unique like skit and like jackass and
awesome.
it's just gonna be like a good time,
Goofy,
right?
just something
Goofy and a good
fun,
time,
yeah.
right? And you know, I feel like Little Dicky did a great example of this, right? He's an artist and a musician in his own right, but he now has his own TV show. Like I think in the future we're gonna have a lot of artists.
Totally.
Not only in the
It's
music
like
business,
Atlanta for Childish Gambino.
they're gonna be diversifying into film and fashion and all these things. So
creativity has so many outlets, and these people are so
many outlets,
talented.
right? So Future Fridays, we're planning to release those every Friday. We're filming a new episode every week, and it's going to be different. So
Dude.
definitely check it out on the band's Instagram Live.
What's their handle?
Yeah. Promote your handles. Where can you go follow Kaito?
Hit an handle. We'll tag.
Well,
We'll
my
let you hit tag.
Instagram is Kaito_Irizarry, but don't follow me. Follow the band Undecided Future on Instagram. Make sure you scream the crap out of Hey Mama.
Yeah.
I want to see I hope I see
For the kids,
200K.
dude.
We need to see
kids.
that. We
For
need to
the
see that
futures.
little boost after this episode.
If we get to 300K streams, I will be by the end of the
Elated.
year I will be elated.
And you will know that 4 of those streams came from.
So,
From
are you going to be
listeners.
donating before we actually close? Are you going to be donating them, like feeding money to them at, on an ongoing basis? So, like that's how it's going to roll.
Yeah, like we haven't talked about when we're planning
When the cutoff date
when the
is,
cutoff
or-
date is, but like look, as long as the money's coming in from Hey Mama, we'll send it over.
Give more of them than less,
You know what?
right?
Yeah.
That is
So
awesome.
what's a handle at Undecided Future?
It's just at Undecided Future.
And we'll link
And
that.
they'll and honestly, there could have been there's no underscore, but they're easy to find out. They're Instagram verified. Like you can't miss them.
They're the
They're
funny,
verified,
goofy,
though.
funky, good-looking dudes.
They got
Yeah,
that.
they're
They got
good.
that blue check over there.
Did they really?
We
I think
we
that's
have a
what
blue
he said.
check.
Oh, that's sick.
We have a blue
Dude, that's how
check.
you know
You guys
you're
are
made.
doing something. You guys are doing something.
But make sure to just follow their Instagram. Keep an eye out for what we're up to. We're trying to think about possibly doing some drive-in shows, or even possibly a show here down in the future. So,
Dude.
and thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you so much for coming and joining us here in the studio, my brother.
Thank you, dude.
This is episode 2, guest 1, featuring Kaito Irizarry. I had to double check how to say
It's
his
fast.
last name.
You know what? It's fast. No,
But again, thanks again for listening to Loading with Will and Finn. It's been an awesome interview, bro.
Dude,
Honestly,
yeah, you
kicked
preached
ass.
on a lot of passion
Ah,
there.
man.
Like,
it's all love, man, and I'm glad you guys are able to create this platform and just share something so beautiful and so unique and so raw to viewers everywhere, right? It's great.
Dude.
thank you, dude. We appreciate that.
Great job,
All right,
brother.
hey,
Great
peace
job.
out, guys.
Thank you guys.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for watching.